Welcome back, y'all, to another night of LPL English broadcast here. It is playoffs time, and we are heading into our lower bracket semifinals. My name is Mark Rafa Alexander Arambide, joined here by Matthew Cubby David Samuelson. It is time to bring back the ultimate duo in telling what could be one of the most exciting series yet to see here in playoffs.
I'm excited to hop into this one, Rafa. JDG and AL, it has been splits that have really not made the expectations that we had for these teams. With JDG being that super team at the start of the year, they've made some changes to try and get back to here, which props to them. They have. They're actually competing for a world slot now, which didn't look like they would do in the middle of the year. AL been a disappointing split 3. Lower bracket drop early on was also a bummer, but Tarzan and the team are stepping up, and they're ready to try and make finals.
And before we get further into tonight's best of 5, a reminder for anyone that missed out on yesterday's series, it was the upper bracket final between BLG and Top Esports, and that was a hell of a series, all the way to a full 5-game series. BLG proved triumphant in the end, where they now advance to grand finals, waiting for their challenger, and of course, auto-qualify to Worlds. Congratulations to them.
Yeah, that was a really fun one to see Shadow come back in and really help elevate the team. The Italian Stallion becoming the first player to make Worlds in both the LEC and the LPL.
Yeah.
Congrats to Shadow. Had a big smile on his face stepping back in. That's really tough to do. I'm for BLG. I'm hoping they pick a jungler and stick with them. It feels they're still joking behind the scenes that whenever they swap jungle, it's fine. That team frustrates me for other reasons. I have no idea what's going on over there. But hey, they're going to be at Worlds, and Worlds is better when BLG is there.
Yep, but they are going to have to take a long wait while they see the results of 2 more best of 5, starting with tonight between JDG and Anyone's Legend. Now, let's take a trip down memory lane, because this is actually a rematch of the Split 1 upper bracket finals nearly 6 months ago, Matt, where at the time, both of these teams had different expectations, and of course, in JDG's case, a different roster.
Yeah, I casted this one, and I had to really rack my brain to see what happened for this, as it was AL. I mean, this one went to 5, Rafa. It was pretty
underway. Anyone's Legend open up with an Annie lock-in for Shanks. That has been one of Scout's most picked champions in this playoffs for JDG. So it's just good homework on Anyone's Legend, understanding, trying to eliminate some facilitator Pantheon to get locked in for JDG.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised he didn't grab the Wukong, as Annie Wukong is such a good combination, but of course Tarzan has been very good whenever he's gotten his hands on the Pantheon, so it looks like they're going to take the Panth away instead. Shift things though, because I feel very strongly that Annie's best pairing is Wukong, and they're going to drop Wukong entirely. So no Trundle in the pool. They're going to pick up Scion now. And I gotta say, Scion has a lot of value here for Flandre. It's a good pick for him. Pantheon does not love life in the Scion. And the new Orianna builds that we've been seeing, it's been a lot of, Roa into Horizon focus. This kind of forces you to go Leandries into the Scion now, which will take pressure off the Annie in that 1v1. So yeah, because Annie doesn't want to see Roa Horizon focus. Into Leandries, you're a lot happier as Annie. That AP can be kind of deadly in that Orianna matchup. So I think Scout is a real choice for the build. And I'm curious to see where AL goes from here. If I'm JDG, take away the Wukong, take away another jungle pairing that's good with the Annie.
I mean, the first two picks from Anyone's Legend seem more like big takeaways. Obviously, I have no issues with Shanks and Hope being able to perform on these two champions in the Annie and Yunara, but when you look at JDG and their most recent success,
I mean, the first
that is where a lot of the investment has gone into. The first three as well. You think of Scion having a massive front line for Xiaoshu. No, I'm talking about for Anyone's Legend sniping.
Oh, I think JDG's been denying from AL too. It's because like the Corki is most played between both ADs. Shanks Orianna has been really big, and Tarzan has dominated whenever he's gotten his hands on the Pantheon. So yeah, interesting to see. I think takeaways for both. I'd say so far I like AL's identity much better. You have Scion, Annie, and Yunara. The damage is coming from Yunara. You have the front line of the Scion, and Annie can really help open up space for each. So I like the cohesiveness from AL. Whereas JDG, I feel like Shun is kind of out of his comfort zone with the Pantheon sometimes. He is going to play more of a team-oriented, facilitator. You're strong early on, but then it's about using your ults, and if you don't use that to snowball the map, you will fall behind later on. I'm used to seeing Shun take stuff you can get up in the face of an enemy jungler. Pantheon wants to interact with lanes, less of that. So, yeah, a little bit of an identity shift for JDG.
Yeah, that's the big downfall, right? I think Shun can definitely play the early snowball facilitator role well. The problem is when it doesn't go well for JDG, then this Pantheon champion just pales in comparison to whatever Anyone's Legend can lock in for Tarzan. That's why they drop the Wukong. They're not even concerned. There's so many champions that Tarzan can now go for later in the draft. JDG are not going to have a really solid front line since it's an Mbessa locked in for Xiaoshu. So now Anyone's Legend can double down on the tanks that they have. Leona locked in for Kael. That gives them more ranged engage and non-committal engage with that solar flare. And if Tarzan just locks in this Pompey, how does JDG ever beat this front-to-back composition if they don't get the early snowball?
I really like this. I think that AL is a little bit low damage, so it's very important that Yunara gets going. It was interesting to see the Leona actually taken, though, by AL here. I think that I was expecting to see the Rel to feed into the Wombo combo with the Annie. I think Leona, though, against Pantheon, that 5 seconds stun, really valuable against Panth and Bessa. And also just having that deny from Corki. Corki utilizes the Leona passive so well. I wasn't exactly expecting to see the Leona blinded, but we have seen Leona kind of rising in priority, because with all the supports rushing Redemption, your W value and the health that you have on Leona, it just gets more mileage. With the W, decreasing the damage that you take, right? Redemption doesn't give you resistances, so the W kind of makes up for that by giving you some of that and the damage reduction. So yeah, interesting to see Kael grab it so early here, as we have seen Leona mostly be dropped in a lot of our games.
Since Alistar was banned earlier in the draft, I can reasonably understand why Kael wanted to prioritize this support for himself versus some of the other options that were available. And I want to go back to the idea of non-committal engage. Outside of Scion, a lot of the tools that you have from both Annie and Leona, you can just fish. You can single target, lock someone down, and if it looks good, then everyone can just spring forward and just go for the burst. If it's not good, they can just back off. They don't give any unnecessary advantages to JDG. They do have a multi-threat composition on their side, which I want to go back to the point that you made that if anyone's legend does not get this Yunara going, they will be low on damage, and I think that is the only concern that they have for this game one.
Yeah, definitely something to look out for, as I think a lot of eyeballs should be on Hope. Yunara, I mean, you have a Scion, Poppy, Annie topside. That's not the most damage on the planet. But yeah, I'm excited to dive into this one. Definitely have a couple of different looks coming from each of our teams. We'll see who can get the best of game one.
This lower bracket semifinal is a chance to race to Worlds to get to that auto qualification spot. Let's hit the riff for game one between anyone's legend and JDG.
Well, Rafa, diving on in. AL versus JDG, of course, these two teams met in Split 1 playoffs. AL got the best of JDG. It was really the start of the AL coming out party as a true contender in the LPL. It wasn't just Demacia Cup. It wasn't just a good regular season. It was AL that could really fight with the best of the best. And now as they meet in Split 3, it really is AL the team that is favored coming in. Given the form we've just seen throughout the year, it definitely speaks to what AL has been able to do throughout the year. But, I mean, all that could come to a crashing halt with the loss today against JDG and the need to potentially play for your world spot, something that AL didn't expect for them to do as they came into the split with the most championship points and as the split favorite.
Yep. As a reminder, because anyone's legend has the second highest most championship points currently, as long as neither JDG or Top Esports is able to upset BLG in the grand finals, anyone's legend will auto-qualify as the second seed. Anyone's legend can eliminate that scenario by just beating JDG and beating Top Esports and then getting to grand finals, where then the two seeds will automatically go to the both of BLG and anyone's legend. Now, in this split, JDG has been through a lot of struggles, but so has anyone's legend. It seems like AL has refound their split winning form back in Split 2, which is why a lot of the fan sentiment is definitely favoring anyone's legend for our series tonight, as we already see the 2v2 in the bot lane getting aggressive in favor of Kyle and Hope.
If you're an LPL fan, the best team that you've seen on the Rift in your region and outside your region this year is AL. So I'm not surprised that they are the favorites coming in as Zhuo. Gonna burn his flash, take the flash out of Hope. That's a good trade.
Shun is pathing to the bot side of the map too, with Tarzan pathing towards the top side. So this does open up an opportunity for JDG. Look, Shun is going to skip all of his bot camps. This could be an opening for first blood in favor of JDG.
Hope's trying to get this wave in, but JDG's doing a nice job of holding it. We'll just see if Hope kind of falls for this one. That's a ward drop by Kyle, or Hope, I should say. Kyle did take the sweeper. So they don't know that Shun would be here, but I gotta say, AL really giving a lot of respect over to the Corki and the Rel. And Hope even sneaking in a recall, so gonna drop a little bit of golden XP, but takes away the chance of any play from Shun. And Shun now, back half of that, it's gonna be Corki being a little bit off in the bot side, and Shun delayed.
Hope actually cancels the recall once he sees that JDG's bot lane is going for the full shove into the tower, so that Hope can at least get a majority of the gold and experience back into his pocket. And because anyone's legend's bot lane avoids what could have been Shun's timer into that bot lane, that gives Tarzan the freedom to go for the crab first on the top side, and now he has the freedom to try and impact Xiaoshu and Flandra's lane. Bro, Tarzan, you just... Yeah. They're just setting up for the dive. I thought Tarzan was gonna go for a crazy flash over the wall. Depending on if Flandra hit that decimating smash, it would have been enough damage to maybe make the dive playable, but he's just gonna take the base and now walk towards his bottom side of the map.
Maybe a lane swap too, as you're gonna see Hope walking up towards the top side. They're gonna find that early 1v2 for the Scion. This wave very ugly for the Yunara lane. So I do like the fact that AL just making sure that they get Yunara maximum resources early on. I mean, that wave was really bad, given the pull that Zhuo had. So this is going to hurt Flandre a little bit, but still did put an emphasis on draft. This is pretty much a one-threat comp with the Yunara, so making sure that Hope is always able to get access to the most resources. Definitely a big win con for AL in the early game. Scion can make that a lot easier with his power in the 1v2. AL going to opt for that one early on. We'll see if JDG responds with that early focus on the Dragon, if they can get that before Grub spawns.
I love how you bring up the focus here for anyone's legends to make sure that Hope has a strong enough early game that he can coast into those 2 item spikes for this Yunara as he is going to be the biggest damage carry for the Pandas here. And JDG, if they cannot find that snowball to stop him from getting to that point, or if they can't have that advantage against the gold curve of this game, then there's no way that they can blitz as easily through the front line that anyone's legend has formed from themselves. Shanks is forced to flash away as Juo comes in with the Hex Flash and just respects the play that JDG could have made in the mid lane.
Juo's been active so far early. Got to give Juo some credit. Definitely making a couple positive plays. We haven't seen Hope's flash that is down be punished. But he does get Shanks's as well. Just off a good Hex Flash. So props to Juo. Definitely gotten this team a couple of small advantages. We'll see if they can turn it into anything again. My eyes really going to be on this Dragon. Yunara is still stuck on the top side. And we've seen a lot of teams, I think, as playoffs and this patch has evolved globally, prioritize getting the 3 grubs. Because in those, 4.5 or 5.5 minutes that you get the power of the grubs to take plates, we've really seen, that can lead to a first brick. That's a big part of feats. Feats gives real value throughout a game. So we've seen teams just prioritize the grubs over the Drake. It's been very common in the LPL. But the way to beat that for me is that if you can sneak in the Dragon before those grubs spawn, well, then you can hopefully fight both. You can manipulate the map, right? So definitely have to see if Shun can do that. It's both of our junglers making their way towards this Dragon. Tarzan going to try his best to play what defense he can, being down numbers.
Looks like JDG are on the same page as you, Matt, trying to use the power of this Corki and Rel priority against the Scion on the bottom side of the map to look for an early Dragon so that they have enough time to reset, redeploy, get set up to contest for those grubs, make sure they are not giving anything free over to anyone's legend. The Zenith Blade does connect on the Scout, but Shanks cannot get in range to at least get a decent chunk on the Scout's health bar. Kyle now in danger. Loses about 50% of his HP, doesn't burn anything important, though, in the trade.
That's that Eclipse from Leona. Working a little bit of overtime there for Kyle. That is one of the strongest basic abilities in the game with the resistances that gives you. So props to Kyle, using that one, able to tank up quite a bit there. And a little bit surprised that I didn't see Shun actually pull the trigger on the flash. It would have been a flash trade, so I guess you're trading down with a spellbook user. But I thought that there might have been a window there I mean, Scout had ult. They got Kyle at half and W was down where they actually could have looked for him.
I mean, even if you don't look for Kyle, you should definitely look for at least Annie, because Shanks doesn't have flash from before. And I really want JDG to take that opportunity trying to push the game forward, because if they're not persistent with this early game advantage, this composition is going to run out of steam.
So we'll say the scaling of this game, it's interesting to me, because a lot of it is in the Yunara, and Yunara Yunara is a hyper carry. This champion does filthy damage if you are allowed to play and operate in the later game, but it is a pretty one-dimensional threat. Not to take anything away from Scion or Annie, but guys, it's Scion and Annie. Like, these are more supportive characters. Yes, they do damage, but not as much damage, especially as the game goes on. So I think it's very important that this game is played around Hope, just because his conditions need to be good for AL to win, whereas JDG, you have Anfessa, you have Orianna, you have Corki, you have plenty of damage coming from multiple sources. So I think that remove Hope early from any fight, kind of regardless of scaling, that's a fight that JDG can win.
Hope is currently relegated to the mid lane, trying to come over and contest in the river alongside Kyle. Juo is the first one to at least answer. Solar Flare misses. Decent slow onto multiple JDG members. Kyle goes in, forces Shun to flash away. Pays, holding the line against Hope as he goes transcendent. And anyone's legend is able to show enough force in the river to force JDG away from the grubs.
It's a 2-for-1. I think a big part of that is support 6. Kyle had level 6. Juo did not. So yes, the Solar Flare missed, but it was still... I mean, that's slow. The passive being proc, that damage coming out from Hope, it was enough to actually get a 2-for-1 advantage. And, of course, JDG, I mean, they had the 2v1 bot side early on. They did not use that to try and pressure a Dragon. I do think that AL did a nice job of playing defense against that play. But with that kind of failing, JDG's behind, and Shun's looking to change things. 3 people bot.
Xiaoshu cuts off the unstoppable onslaught. Flandra, can he get the flash over the wall? He does it, and JDG can't follow up. The public execution is out of range. Flandra makes the escape.
That's a big one for AL. Flandra has TP, so he can TP back down there like nothing happened. JDG has to hit the Dragon on this wave, or else their window's gone, which it already is. They're looking mid, but Juo still is not 6, so that big Rel power play of the Flash Magnet Storm is not available. And Tarzan now can pressure the top side. His Scout's low, and he might get dove. Oh.
Okay, well, Tarzan is going to give Scout a freebie. He says, I don't want to even mess around with the possibility of a dive. I just want to give free plates over to my team. Jewel arrives to the top side.
Goodbye,
Still
anyway.
level 5. No
Yeah.
Magnastorm available just yet. JDG support has been without an ultimate for the past 4 minutes, while Solar Flare has been available for Kyle as he cast it a second time this game. The Shockwave hits 2 members, Tarzan and Kyle. A little bit tankier than JDG would like to deal with. They're trying to continue the play. Tarzan slams Joel into the wall, forcing him to flash over. Xiaoshu can threaten. He picks up first blood onto Tarzan's Poppy, and now Shanks and Kyle are in trouble.
Hope?
But Hope comes over the wall, but he's isolated. He's all alone. I don't think that's the play you want to go for. Hope loses his mind, and JDG reap the rewards as they find 3 kills in the aftermath.
Oh my god, Hope just looked like he lost all hope as he walked into a 1v4 and transcended into a gray screen. As I don't know what Hope was thinking there. We did have Shun get soloed out by Flandre in the bot river as chaos erupts around the map. But it's AL, I think, overstaying in the top side. Once you use that Keeper's Verdict, you are playing to deny the wave. There's a world where you are able to get the TP out and retreat. I think that Kyle, you can walk away from him after this happens. Like, just walk out. I actually think that AL could walk out here. They played into the Shockwave. Scout is missing the wave, but they played a very long fight. And yeah, wait, no way the dragon was stolen. Okay.
He doesn't have... Okay.
Okay, thank God. All right. It's not extreme disaster. It is a JDG winning play overall, but that is Shun falling.
Guys, it is already game 1, and the cart has fallen off the rails. We're already in for a banger of a series.
Dude, we got to lock in, man. We didn't track who actually got the dragon. We were both, like, panicking. Like, wait, it's below 600. It's below 900. There's no smite. What is going on?
To be fair, we were so absorbed with what was happening topside, we didn't get a chance to register who got the dragon.
Not to be fair, we're pros. We got to lock in. Big match, Rafa.
I mean, JDG and Anyone's Legend also got to lock in. Both of them are showing a little bit of nerves coming into this best of 5.
We'll say the big benefactor after that last skirmish, Xiaoshu, 2-0-1. Eclipse already in the inventory of the Ambessa. Getting ahead of the curve in this matchup can be big. Xiaoshu did opt for the Eclipse. That's going to help with the trading early on. I think that the unique passives of the Cleaver, the Shojin can mean more later on, and you do delay those items as Cleaver is necessary into a Scion, Poppy, and Leona game. That said, I mean, Pantheon can pick up the Cleaver. You have a lot of armor shred from the Corki. So kind of curious if Xiaoshu skips over that one. Usually in the Scion matchups, we do see it. But I think given the Pantheon with a Cleaver and given the Corki E-Shred, I think he's got a choice to actually skip over that and go Shojin next.
As long as he communicates and coordinates with his teammates on who is getting armor reduction for the team, then JDG can definitely make that choice. Now, we are approaching Rift Herald in the next couple of minutes. Same thing with the second dragon of the game because it has been delayed for so long. Right now, Xiaoshu feeling pretty damn good in the laning phase since Flandre has yet to complete a full item for himself. He's just sitting on components. Nice thing about Sion is that he can at least endure the storm here. And JDG trying to think if they can punish anything from the side of Anyone's Legend since Shanks did lose his flash in the trade on the top side.
Oh, Tarzan!
Flash by Tarzan! Steadfast presence cuts off Hayes in the middle of the Valkyrie! That's the AD carry gone for JDG.
That's a good reaction there by Tarzan as the 2 prolific players that we highlighted going into this match. It's Tarzan that gets the best of Pays in their first altercation.
He knew that Pays had no cleanse and no flash from the topside scuffle. Shun looking for the Grand Starfall onto Flandre, but Flandre this time just walks out.
There's a world there where I think Flandre could have maybe pressed R, kept Shun under the turret, gotten the flash out, would have maybe died the Xiaoshu in the public execution, but your zombie Scion with a Poppy that was rotating. I think making that one volatile, there was maybe an angle there for AL. But not the case. Instead, Flandre, with his jungler showing bot, it's just Shun bleeding the ultimate. Flandre absorbing both waves undeterred, and he remains ahead in this matchup in levels, and even if he's behind in items. And that's good news for Flandre, who has actually absorbed a lot of resources so far. And yeah, Sion is Sion. I mean, we don't usually talk about Sion as the game goes late, but he does stack a massive amount of HP, Rafa. And I'm definitely looking out to see if that Orianna, it does go for the Leondaries instead of that Horizon focus. Good slow here by Hope. Great reaction here by Tarzan. No way for Pays to outplay that one.
Beautiful timing from our Split 2 Finals MVP in Tarzan. Returning to form that garnered himself as well as Anyone's Legend first domestic title in their history. And for JDG, you look at the jungle counterpart in Shun, he's not been having the greatest game on this Pantheon. Both of his Grand Starfalls have been either leaving room for more or just straight up disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, both have been used on the Scion. I feel like that's something to question, as, you know, we really set up that all the resources and all the damage for AL, it's in Hope on this Yunara. So if I'm Shun, I mean, I think it's worth saving these Grand Starfalls to, I mean, not snowball the already somewhat ahead Ambessa, and save it so, like, maybe you can find something more opportune, actually take down Yunara, take down the big carry that they know they're going to have to deal with in this game.
Yeah. I mean, JDG had windows where Shanks had no flash. By the way, Shanks doesn't have, or his flash just came off cooldown again. So that's a window that was missed. Hope didn't have flash for the first 5 minutes of the game. Obviously, it was hard for Shun to really punish that because he didn't have Grand Starfall. But it just seems like JDG are not able to coordinate these attempts on the targets that they should be prioritizing. And Anyone's Legend has been given kind of a freebie in this early game where JDG should have been thriving.
AL going to continue to take stuff here, as that Rift Herald going to be traded out for the Dragon, and a little bit of pressure bot, which Flandre can mostly handle. So, see what AL can get with this one. I gotta say, this is a game where you're playing Annie into Orianna. Definitely hard to attack that mid-outer turret. I would really like to see that Rift Herald used to try and break down that outer turret. In fact, if Tarzan drops it on this wave, they would still catch JDG with 2 bots still on the Dragon. So I think an insta-drop was just from Tarzan, as, yeah, he throws it down. That's going to come mid.
Gonna get the crash. Doesn't take out the tier 1 turret completely, but sets it up to get knocked down here just from a few more auto attacks if Anyone's Legend can get some time. But because they push it in the mid lane, no one is answering Shanks on the top side. That's first break going over in favor of Anyone's Legend. Xiaoshu putting some damage on the Flandre. Another Grand Starfall just to put the Scion into the dirt. They eventually and finally take Flandre off the Rift for the first time this game. But is it worth the cost that they're getting on the top side of the map?
No, the answer is straight up no, Rafa. They didn't just lose the top side. They're going to lose mid-outer. That's far more valuable than the turrets that have been taken. And Flandre, yes, he died, but that's a great death there, Flandre. I mean, you stalled out the first turret. You soaked every wave imaginable. Who cares if you go down if they're throwing Pantheon ults at you again? He got another Grand Starfall out of Shun. And what's it for? It's ultimately to trade down across the map over the play, as they're at least down a turret. They do secure that Dragon, as we do welcome the Hextech Soul onto the Rift, so the gates are up, portals are open, and we'll see. I mean, if AL, they're going to need to really consider threatening that Dragon, because we're still in a world now where, because Hextech Soul was rolled, JDG secures the next Dragon, they're going to have a lot of power they can threaten for the rest of the game, as Hextech Soul, that's a diabolical one to stare down.
Yeah. Not to say that I agree with what JDG have done this game and their decision-making to try and focus Flandre, but the only cope I can at least find, maybe for JDG fans who are also concerned and questioned, is, well, they got the 2 Drakes, but also by putting a lot of focus into Xiaoshu's lane, they've accelerated his 2-item spike. He is the one person that, off of a point-and-click stun or an engage from JDG, can follow up and eliminate Hope from the team fight. And if we talked about what the main concern for Anyone's Legends composition was, if Yunara's gone, and this team has no damage, as Tarzan is able to at least force a couple flashes here at the cost of his own 3-man Shockwave. Not that much damage from Scout. He hasn't scaled into that point yet on this Orianna, but he at least saves his life at the cost of this tier 1 turret falling in the bot side.
Scout actually did something very weird this game. That is a very late tier picked up, as he's going for the Seraphs as well. So Scout's going for, like, the... I was talking about the Horizon focus versus the Leandries. It looks like Scout's going for the... I'm going to build the most defensive scaling items imaginable, because I'm looking at Scion, Annie, Poppy, and I kind of outrange or interact with Yunara if I'm positioning well. So if I don't die to that, I should be okay throughout the fight if my spells are up. So gonna see if that is the best approach for Scout. I mean, that's the logic behind it for me, at least in terms of what I think is going through his head. So we'll see. Definitely sets JDG behind a little bit, though, because that tier is not close to being evolved.
We'll see if JDG's mid laner can accelerate the pace of that tier, evolving into an eventual Seraphs.
I mean, Otacon fight is probably AL favored, like, diving into this one, right? Like, you have Hope at 2 items. Pays doesn't have that Miramana yet. Once they pull back up the scoreboard, we'll see. But, yeah, I think it's a tough one.
Well, JDG, maybe they can force a fight and can burn some summoner spells here on the top side river before we get to the Otacon fight, but they're going to have to be a little bit careful because if they opt into the 5-on-5, it's no Muramana fully stacked up for Pays, but at least a Manamune completed, so he's got kind of a 2-item spike here for the Corki.
There's a redemption gap, too, on support. I mean, that is very significant around an objective like Otacon, too, given that redemption can... I mean, redemption can grant your team more than 1k effective health if used well. So, I really dislike this fight for JDG. The only advantage that they actually have is Xiaoshu, and I just don't think that's enough at this point. So, I would love to see AL get feisty and really try and pressure this objective. I think bleeding out anything they can could potentially open up for an Otacon. That said, on the other side of the map, there is also the conversation about denying the soul point, which I think is very real for AL as well. So I'm kind of curious to see how each of our teams navigate this, because I feel like AL is the stronger team at the moment. So kind of where they throw their weight around here when they deploy on the map, going to be telling to what they feel is the stronger objective or the one they have to threaten more. And at the moment, it's Tarzan beelining towards that dragon.
I think over the course of our Split 3 playoffs here, a lot of our LPL teams have learned that the Otacon is not the end-all, be-all objective. And intelligently, they haven't forced themselves into it, giving themselves up potentially for a turnaround to the enemy team. We definitely saw a lot of that earlier on in the first rounds of both the upper bracket as well as the lower bracket for a lot of these teams, which Anyone's Legend and JDG had to fight through in order to get to this point. So to see them stalling that point out, Anyone's Legend trying to set up maybe a position where they can deny JDG getting on the soul point. JDG knowing that though, they're swatted over
sneaky ward.
This ward. They're trying to sneak this Otacon, but because of that ward, Anyone's Legend is going to know.
Flandre has the TP coming off cooldown here momentarily, so he might be late actually. Okay, yeah, he just casted it now as it's up, and now Tarzan, Keeper's Verdict time. What can he, I mean, who can he punt away? This is a terrible position for JDG, because now Tarzan just gets a freely threatened Keeper's Verdict.
Nice disintegrate by Shanks, leads the stun, setback Presence, cuts off Xiaoshu, and the man that JDG invested so much into the early game is the first one to drop. Dwo forced to flash away. Oh, the scout shockwave is desynced as Dwo had already ran away from the fight. They don't have an Orianna ultimate, they don't have a Magnet Storm, they are out of options, and Anyone's Legend completely run JDG out of the Otacon pit.
That is a triple kill for Hope, the singular most important carry for AL, in a grim fight for JDG, one that we were looking at, Rafa. Staring at the conditions, like, they're not the stronger team right now. They opt into trying to sneak the Otacon. They thought it was a dragon trade, but AL were able to play both sides of the map very well there. They answer the play of JDG with the strength of their own as they were stronger in the moment, and they really cash in. I mean, just look at, like, again, JDG, they're fighting this with no redemption. You're in a spot where you can get Keeper's Verdict out and be down numbers. And, like, look at the redemption value in this fight. I just think that right now in the meta, if you are a team that has a redemption versus a non-redemption, you have to try and force the fight just because of the value of that item. And AL, I mean, JDG were not positioned well. Like, I think the redemption didn't really matter in that fight even, but it's just the conditions that we see in the inventories that would really determine for JDG to, like, okay, we can't fight that, let's go play elsewhere. Well, they don't. They opt to make a proactive play themselves, and it's AL coming out of that, getting everything. They get the Otacon and the Dragon in that sequence.
And now JDG are forced into farm and scale mode because that is their only hope of making a comeback into this game. The fact that they got the first 2 dragons at least gives them a window to stall, since Anyone's Legend is forced to take that off the map, but they've lost the Otacon. They've lost 2 grubs versus the 1 grub. So Anyone's Legend is going to have more pushing power when they get a chance to siege up onto these towers. And JDG is just hoping that Anyone's Legend does not close this game out faster than they can at least find item spikes back into this game.
I mean, look at my Orianna, man. Like, one of these item spikes in it. You know what? I'm just going to force something right now. Shout out to our sponsor, prodiff.gg. I'm thinking about whether or not this is what I build on Orianna. You know what you can do? You can go over to prodiff.gg and improve your own game. Use code LPL10 to save 10% on Prodiff, and ask one of those mid laners that are 50 times smarter than me what they'd actually do in this situation, as it's probably not the build the Scout went for, but we'll dive in and see a Scout. That's the flash out, and I think that man's still dead.
I'm not going to even cast that one because I already knew the end result. The flash was wasted as Scout doesn't even clear enough distance to get out of Anyone's Legend's hands.
Are you saying, Rafa, that was a pity play-by-play call I just got?
Yes.
Okay, well, pity prizes might be up soon for JDG too, so We'll see if they can do anything off of that, as AL going to cruise, take this mid inner turret, and the push continues. Camp's under threat, topside under threat. JDG have nowhere to move on this map.
They're in full control. The Pandas now a 5,000 staggering gold advantage over JDG, a team that we were asking to see if they could press the acceleration of this game early before anyone's legend came into their stride. And even though Hope is still the key carry to eliminate from JDG, at this point, how do you get past this front line? How do you get past the peel, the CC chain, the power of these tanks from anyone's legend, and even threaten Hope in the backline?
Well, I mean, it still is that Magnet Storm into public execution, right? We did highlight that JDG do have tools to get backline access and to try and shut down this Yunara. That is still lacking in Mikhail's, by the way, as its barrier for Hope. But I mean, my concern is given the build that Scout went, like the discussion of the Orianna, keep in mind it was, is it going to be that Leandries or that Horizon Focus, right? Because the Horizon Focus means that you get the damage against the Scion, the Poppy, right? But you do get backline access to the Anna Yunara, and maybe you can find a Wombo. I don't really know what the Seraph's Roa gives you outside of survivability. Speaking of survivability,
quick play on the Flandre maybe could be the way for JDG to come back into this game. The tank is bursted completely. Jindong Gaming at least find a man advantage now, 5-4 while the Baron is up. Do JDG just want to go for the Hail Mary and start up this objective? They're going to look for the Grand Starfall for the first time. It's not on the Flandre. It's on to someone else, but it might just be 20 minutes too late into the game, as all they get is nothing from Shanks. He just pops the face rush and he escapes.
They're stuck. Look at this. Flandre's up in 25 seconds. If they can keep JDG here, are they going to rip the Baron? I mean, if they do, I think they're signing up to lose the game, frankly. You got to decide what you want to do here, JDG. You going to walk out? If you don't walk out fast enough, you could get Flandre. 13 seconds away. He has TP. Speaking of TPs,
Xiaoshu is looking for the cutoff point. Hope is isolated. He's only got Kyle as a way to try and disengage. Hope has to use the Conmay steps to find his way out, but the public execution snacks him. Tarzan buys some time with the step 5%.
Oh.
But JDG find the key carry. They can blitz through everyone else. Massive damage from Shanks, but the Timbers are easy. Tries to incinerate them all to a crisp. But JDG are strong. They're persistent. They push through. Tarzan's dropped. No way! How did JDG bring this one back?
I mean, Hope tried to play into that. He flashed to buffer the Panth W, but where, like, the line he flashed on, the public execution still connected. And that was like a 10-second window until Scion gets back and the map's okay. JDG somehow find a window. I think AL needed to give more of the map. I don't know why they played that mid-wave. All they had to do was defend Baron, wait for Flandre to come back, and then they can retake. Instead, Flandre
trying to play spoiler. There's no smite on anyone from JDG. They have to focus and burn down the Baron. Is Flandre gonna steal it? Scout secures it. Now everyone get the hell out from the side of JDG, but the decimating smash might make it difficult. He goes back in. Pays flashes in to trade. Looks for Kyle next. He knows that there's no damage dealers coming up anytime soon. Pays steps up and adds 2 more kills to his record. JDG are able to escape the grasp with Shanks as he finds nothing with the teleport.
That was a very long sequence where AL were playing down numbers, and JDG gets so much for it. I mean, we were kind of looking at this team like, hey, you're going to bleed out in this game. Things do not look good for you. The plays that you attempted were not good, but it was a very good Grand Starfall from Shun, and then a big mistake, I think, from AL trying to, again, play the mid-wave. Look at that mid-wave. It's pushed into the turret. Screw that wave. It got them in this position. This is a terrible spot for them to be in. Open them up to this punish from JDG, which was nothing but on point.
The Fortress comp cannot be used as proficiently when a lot of your Fortress is nowhere near the key carry to protect. And the fact that Hope tries to play that out, it does not work in the end for anyone's legend. And JDG get the window they were looking for to now find a small advantage, and they can put themselves on the Soul Point after securing this dragon.
X-Tech Soul Point at that, as it's now the gold in favor of JDG, and some of the waves in favor of JDG too, something that we haven't seen so far this game. As Xiaoshu, being the big benefactor off the last couple of plays, Rafa, we got to keep an eye on this Ambessa, because now, I mean, level 16, getting to that back line, that ult, the passive you have on it, getting even stronger with what Ambessa can do. And we're going to have to see if Xiaoshu can really step up and carry and continue to find Hope, because, again, it doesn't matter what game state they're in. If you have Flash up on Zhuo, and you can find Hope with that Flash Magnet Storm, it should lead to a good execution from JDG. They have a lot of setup for that backline access that we saw them use successfully when AL were down numbers. The challenge is going to be, can they find it when it's even numbers on the map, or if they don't have set up in the AL?
At least when anyone's Legend were ahead in gold, even if the fight was somewhat split up, there is confidence in anyone's Legend just being against or ahead of the curve, that JDG just did not have enough damage in their pockets there. But now, that point, that advantage is completely gone. It's JDG that finds momentum here at the 30-minute mark in our first game of this best of 5. Baron buff at their disposal, using it to continue to siege on multiple turrets around the map here.
And with that lead that AL had early on, there was more standing gold in the map available for JDG with these turrets, and they're trying to cash in. I mean, I made one joke about pity prizes, and I think JDG took that one personally. They don't even want pity prizes on the map. Tarzan was looking for an angle, but will be spotted by the control ward, and double cannon minions that are empowered is going to continue to siege on down. Good takeaway by Kyle there. That's a big flash to get out of Scout.
Yep. Scout respects the engage potential. Burns the summoner spell. Yeah, Hope Splash is coming up, back off cooldown in just a few seconds here.
It's not good positioning there by Scout. He shouldn't open him. Like, if he's with the team and he eats the solar flare, at least he can try and play defense for him if he doesn't want to burn flash. The fact that he was outside of the team and like on the other side of that wall, he's got to burn it early. So good find by Kyle. As Kyle, I mean, we really felt like coming into this, if AL were going to win, it was going to have to be off of Tarzan and Kyle, really syncing up and being that jungle support duo that we know they can be from what they put up in Split 2 and what they did internationally. I think that in order to get back in this game, they're going to need that again.
Jwo gets tagged by Hope and Kyle, and good night, Jwo. That is Hope on 4 items for this Yunara, and Jwo did not stand a chance.
Wow, that was a lot of damage, Rafa. I mean, it's 4 items on Yunara, but wow, that was... I mean, Jwo doesn't even have redemption, right? That's a locket, so you got resistances for that, too. Yeesh. Well, shows the importance of that public execution finding that Yunara, huh?
Yup. When JDG are able to sync up their ultimates and eliminate the big carry for anyone's Legend, they can avoid scenarios like that. But if Hope is given the space and anyone's Legend can form that defensive fortress and continue to peel away those threats, I mean, this is the Yunara show. This is where she can completely take over. And even with Shanks' build on the Annie, the Malignance into the Bloodletters, shredding more magic resist from these opponents in JDG, that helps Hope as his damage is split in profile. It's physical, but there's also the magic crits thanks to the passive.
Certainly did a number on Jwo there, as I was not expecting to see a death come in, but I guess Yunara with that auto Q combo took advantage of some of those Leona solar flare procs too, off the just passive procs too.
Yeah.
Good work. Definitely gonna have to take inventory though. Rafa, we got 55 seconds till the Baron and a $1.15 until the Hextech Dragon. This is a soul for JDG. I think the JDG don't want to sniff out that Baron at all. I mean, they could do it. They could trade it if AL takes the Dragon. I think that's okay for them at this point, but I'd want a Hextech Soul. I feel like that would put a ton of pressure on Yunara. Just having that slow and that increased threat for every fight moving forward.
And for JDG, the question comes down to whether they can use the allure of that soul point to pull anyone's Legend away from the top side of the map.
Right now, they have no control. Look at the wards for AL. I mean, there's not a single ward by JDG on that bottom side of the map. So I think it's a window where when this Baron spawns, they don't have a lot of time, but they're going to have to commit to at least retaking the side right now. But that control ward in the bot side brush is doing so much work for AL, and JDG just cannot walk in and face check it.
Baron has spawned. Another 20 seconds before potential soul point spawns for JDG. Tarzan dodges out on the Q stun from Jwo. Big thing to note here, Scout. Still no flash for this upcoming fight, but he has Seeker, so that is his one bailout card that he's got in his inventory. As the flash from Hope dodges a public execution from Xiaoshu.
That's worth, though. I think that now you have a power play if you're AL, because that's such an important tool for reaching Hope. On the backside is Shanks whiffs.
He missed the stun. The flash gets nothing, and he's taken out of the fight. And now Hope has to play defensively over the wall. Big Orc of Ruin over. Jwo is dropped. The Gia is going to get burned by Shun as he goes in for the flash stun. But Steadfast Preston stops him in his tracks. And now Tarzan is on the forefront trying to pursue Xiaoshu and push him away from the fight. Pays and Scout trying to step up and see if they can follow up. But anyone's Legend only drop one in exchange for 2.
That was a very good fight for Hope. He was able to fight it from over the wall. So he was safe and just ripping damage as the front line was standing ahead of him. Scout hit a 4-man shockwave. Doesn't even feel like it over on AL.
Oh, man.
They're trying to hold the line.
Be careful. Decimating smash. Hang on. Xiaoshu and Paze doing a lot of work onto the tank.
There's no
Tarzan
smite.
has the smite advantage. Scout and Paze see if they can try and seal it away, but Tarzan is clutch with the smite. 30 HP on that dragon, by the way. But Paze might be in trouble. Burns out Scout. Xiaoshu now pressuring with the Hextech portal. See if he can cut off the retreat path of anyone's legend. Shanks has TP in the next 3 seconds when he spawns. Xiaoshu's got to be quick. He has to slice and dice through them. Flandra forces to use the ultimate. He flashes away, but they leave Hope to die. He takes out one, though. Paze gets dropped in exchange for Hope's life.
That's critical that they took down Paze. It takes away the push from JDG, as now the solo laners missed the ultimates. And JDG, they could have gotten so much more out of this play, Rafa. If Paze lives and those ults connect, that's a power play for JDG, but now they just have to reset. As AL gets away with a dragon, they can reset the map and honestly get away with the advantage unscathed.
This game one is absolute madness, Matt. JDG and anyone's legend pushing each other to the brink, and we're not even halfway through the series.
I mean, I know this whiffs from Shanks, but the fight afterwards, just look at Hope's positioning here as they knock away Paze. Good play by Tarzan. Like, how do you play into this when you have no public execution as JDG? And this is going to be the concern later on for them. It's so important that the Grand Starfall, the public execution, or that Flash Magnet Storm can create some sort of wombo, some sort of pressure against this Yunara. As if Hope is allowed to fight like that, we've seen the damage this champion can do. With Hope, honestly, a hyper carry kind of specialist in this team. I mean, think of his best champs. I think of Kaisa, I think of Jinx. His abilities on the champions to carry really later on. It was never really out in the lane phase for Hope. It was really, what can you do in the team fights? As Hope stepped up in that one.
And he has the biggest burden of responsibility as he is the main carry for this composition.
Oh, yeah, he cannot die.
Everyone else from anyone's legend is built to protect and set up JDG so that he can knock him down. Flandra getting aggressed on by Xiaoshu. It's just decent poke from the members of JDG as they were nearly more than 1,000 HP off of the main front line for anyone's legend.
Well, AL, I mean, they have a sneaky blue trinket on the Baron that has not been spotted yet by JDG. I think that's why they really don't feel like they have to step up at all. Just kind of waiting on these Soul Furnaces to be just gargantuan from Flandre now, as he has so many stacks as this game has really gone late and still feels like it's on a knife's edge. Tarzan going to find Scout, who again is kind of off to the side, out of position. I don't agree with the setup from Scout. I think it's very dangerous being there in a few of these occasions. Like, you're Orianna, you want to play with the ball in front, threatening that and threatening the zone Hope. I know that he's looking for, I guess, angles or a shockwave, but this guy built no damage. I think you just have to group with the team. Try like he is now. I think standing off the side, you're kind of asking to lose a flash, lose out in conditions the way that we saw AL deny from him last time.
Scout gives up that left flank position as anyone's legend is able to finally step up into this jungle quadrant. They haven't been able to put any aggressive wards into that river choke point, but they are at least getting a chance to step up for now. Tarzan securing the blue buff for his team. Rest of anyone's legend holding the line here in the mid lane, as well as the jungle entrance into the Baron.
So look, AL doesn't have to do anything. I think that they're okay just playing for these souls because they need to continue to deny these souls from JDG. Whereas right now, again, like they have enough blue trinkets where they've snuck the last 2 down onto the Baron. JDG haven't cleared that, so they have all the info, and they're just kind of hanging.
Hope is able to wait enough time for his flash to come off cooldown, so there's no big advantage for JDG that they can play off of in trying to threaten the backline here. Scout still has Seeker, still has Flash. Paze has both of his summoners available, and Mikhail's. Shun is the first one to jump onto Flandra, just testing the waters here. Tarzan slowed by that command dissonance on the left flank. JDG give up their position, and anyone's legend for the first time is able to step up and take control in the river.
JDG, I mean, they're sacking a lot of control around this dragon now. The only way to really take control back is to tickle the Baron and get AL to come into you. So can they find Hope, who has Flash back up? And that's the condition you're waiting to really fight on, as they found Xiaoshu.
Scanner from Flandra is so good. Keeper's verdict punts away one. He looks for Scout, forces him to go into the Seeker's stasis. Shun onto the front line, flashes onto Hope. The shockwave puts 3, but you said it before, Matt. There's no damage into the Scout Orianna build, but they're holding the line strong as Flandra's forced to flash away. Shun comes up for the GA just to die a second time, and the Baron is up for the taking. Anyone Legend will not be contested on the objective as Tarzan is clean with the smite. Anyone's Legend withstand the storm that JDG brought, and they are once again in control of this game one.
Look, you can say that that's Poppy ult. That was well played by Tarzan. I want to give a lot of credit there to Shanks, who has been ahead this entire game. It's been Xiaoshu. Shanks marked Xiaoshu in that fight. There was no public execution used to try and pressure Hope, so he only ate the damage from the Pantheon and the Orianna. That wasn't enough. Tarzan cleared Pays, Shanks cleared out Xiaoshu, and now AL clears out the Soul, so they get their own Soul point for themselves, and AL get control back in this game.
It got very shaky in that mid-game when JDG found that very creative collapse onto Hope, and they had momentum for the first time around that 33-minute mark here. But Anyone's Legend take a step back, they breathe in, and they're able to finally regain control over the course of the next 10 minutes of this game. We are now in the super late endgame stage of this game one. Going up in this series gives you so much momentum for the rest of the best of 5.
I mean, also for AL, I think blue side definitely still viewed as advantageous. I think dropping red side or games to red side teams, like a big part of winning a best of 5 is winning a red side game. I think when you talk to a lot of these teams, they just feel like they can't draft as well on that side. No. So I think them winning the blue side game very important, but I just think the most important thing in this game, it's all about Hope's flash. If Hope has flash up, AL can fight.
He doesn't have flash, and there's no GA.
Oh, that's so bad.
Good night, Pantheon.
That's very bad.
Legend now 5-4 for the next 58 seconds.
That should be top inner turret falling, and probably the first inhibitor as well, as Shun just too far up on the map. Couldn't really justify that one for myself there, Rafa. Good pick by Kael, as he connected everything onto the Pantheon. Again, Pantheon, when he's down flash, Leona has really good interactions in the Pantheon between the Q 5-second stun and the outrange on the R. Kael taking full advantage of it there. As AL opening up an inhibitor and looking to crack open the game.
Redemption comes in. Keeper's Verdict for the wind-up punts away 1. Buy some time for Anyone's Legend to pressure the Nexus turrets. Scout waiting for the moment to pop the shockwave. Tarzan goes in with the crash. Jewel opens up with the Magnet Storm. Xiaoshu trying to dance into the backline. Shockwave only onto Tarzan. And that's it, folks. Anyone's Legend endure everything that JDG threw their way. And they come out triumphant here in game 1.
Big game from Hope. He made one oopsie early on, jumping into a 1v4, but the rest of the game, Hope was clean as AL come together to take game 1.
This is your defending champions in full form again. It got very shaky, and JDG definitely were testing their limits a bit there, and they challenged them in that mid-game, but Anyone's Legend is a whole other beast, man. When they are locked in, JDG now staring down the barrel of a 0-1 start.
Look, I think that for AL, I mean, they made some oopsies in that game, but they held strong. That's something that you can actually draw upon for the rest of the game. Like, guys, we played our late game really well, and that they did. I mean, they used the Poppy, the Scion, the Yunara so well in that game in order to just, you know, create a numbers advantage. Again, I really want to credit Shanks for peeling Xiaoshu around that Baron fight. The combo we talked about for the entirety of it, it was getting Xiaoshu onto Hope. That's the win con. If you are JDG, and the fights where we did see Xiaoshu get on the Hope, those were the winning fights for JDG. So by Shanks just stunning him, making life hard in the Ambessa, making it so that he couldn't reach Hope ever in that fight, I think that really changed the Baron fight. Once that Baron was secured, Yunara got too big, and AL ran away with the game.
Yeah, it was a joint effort from him and Flandra. He's the first one to walk on that side of the Baron pit, catches him out with the scanner so they can instantly identify, okay, Xiaoshu is looking for a flank here. Just make sure that he never gets into the backline. And that whole investment that JDG spent a majority of their 15-20 minutes trying to snowball and accelerate Xiaoshu's own gold lead so that he can be the person that is threatening Hope's life. It worked once in that big catch, but once Anyone's Legend identified that win condition, you could see how quickly they adapted to that playstyle. And now, going into game 2, Matt, I think this first game was a perfect demonstration of something that we talked about during the pre-show, where Tarzan and Shun, both great junglers in their own right, but when Shun is put on the facilitator role, sometimes he struggles, sometimes he's not able to find nearly as much comfort in the confidence and the boldness to understand where he wants to go, Tarzan, you could put this guy on anything and he'll still excel in his role.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that Shun, I really question the first 3 Grand Starfalls into the Scion. I just do not feel like that is how you want to use the Pantheon at all in that game. And that really slowed down any potential snowball for JDG early on. And as things got later on, I mean, again, the only way I really feel like JDG could have played that game was to burst out the Yunara. And I think that in hindsight, the Orianna build that we were questioning just made no sense. Because we didn't see any damage that came through like onto the Yunara that was actually real and threatened, right? And so, yeah, like I feel like that's why it was so important that Shanks peeled off Xiaoshu. Like part of it was just given the fact that Scout decided to go double scaling items and like not do damage later on in this matchup.
Matt, if you are a scaling control mage, like
dude,
Orianna,
he bought that tier post Roa, man. I should have sent this pen across the room.
Hang on, check this out. If you are a scaling control mage like Orianna, and you can't out damage an Annie, something has gone horribly wrong.
Yeah, correct. I mean, look, Annie does a lot of damage, but you're not wrong. Something has gone wrong. It's that we built a tier after we finished the Roa. It was like the, oh crap, I'm gonna build this, right? You know, moment. I don't know what happened there. Yeah, very much disagree with how Scout built his Orianna that one. And I mean, I think it showed. Like, we're going to see a couple fights where I think the pretty big shockwaves actually hit and connected, but they weren't big. Like, they just existed.
There is no damage behind them, man. There is a 3-man shockwave in that Baron pit. If it's higher burst potential or it has better HP shred, maybe it warps the fight.
Oh,
it
I didn't
gives
even catch
some breathing
that.
space.
Tarzan actually threw the Keeper's Verdict out onto the Ambessa, but Xiaoshu was still unstoppable when it hit. So he tried to send the Ambessa away, but just cast it just a wee bit too early. Wow, that was actually really cool. I did not notice that in the moment of that fight. I don't think we even got a replay for it because it went straight to this, which was a little chaotic. But yeah, that was actually kind of wild. It was a good attempt there by Tarzan. I mean, using Keeper's Verdict to play defense like that for Yunara, it does make a lot of sense, but I think kind of shows the flexibility of this Poppy Yunara. Definitely, you know, we were looking for a damage dealer to be paired up with the Annie. To have the Poppy this game, that value you got into the Ambessa, into the Corki, into the Rel, was really nice. And I think they kind of called JDG and Zhuo's buff that, yeah, they are still going to play Rel into Poppy. Like, they don't care. So they did. I will say next game, Rafa, Alistar value goes up a ton. No Leona, no Rel, no Poppy. Still Tarzan Silas to try and threaten that, but we saw Alistar get banned first round by AL. I'm expecting a side swap for JDG. Definitely curious if they, A, keep the ban, and B, if they do drop it, you know, where does Alistar go in the next draft?
A lot of the early skirmishers as well were also taken off the table. We know that Wukong was open in the first 3 rounds. I think it was a great decision by AL to not feel the need to try and make the link up between Wukong and Annie, because the Poppy just gave Anyone's Legend a lot of defensive capabilities and just making sure that Hope got to the point where he needed to be so that he was this big late game threat. Because sometimes in the past, Matt, especially in Split 3 in the regular season, when Tarzan was put on the carry, but then the rest of the map was a bit shaky, then Tarzan felt the need to overextend himself to, sometimes I called them protest farm waves, where he was on the other side of the map. He's clearly overextended, but he's like, I need to get farm for myself. Otherwise, I cannot carry on this champion, because if you don't have damage on Wukong, then things go a little bit awry. But as the Poppy, you're a front line. You don't need to do a lot of damage. You just need to make sure that your backline is staying alive.
It was so funny because I know in the Weibo series, I think Poppy was first picked by Tian, or by Tarzan to deny from Tian in that series. Yeah. And Poppy has actually been the most highly contested champion that we've had in playoffs coming into the day. She has a 79% prio. It's only her 8th pick. She goes to 5-3 now, but she leads the LPL in bans. So probably going to change after tonight, as it's going to be Azir. We expect to not see too much Azir moving forward, as he is 4-0 right now in the playoffs. But yeah, that was an interesting one.
If it's not Hope, Tarzan.
I think it's very deserving for Tarzan. I thought Tarzan had a fantastic game.
I mean, obviously, Hope was destined as the main carry for the team, but Tarzan was the one that brought it back from the brink of
clearly the voters
comeback.
The voters did not forget about Hope hopping into that Krug pit, you know? They did not forget about that. But,
yeah.
Folks, you know, we got some other housekeeping to take care of. Something we never forget about on the LPL broadcast is how much that we appreciate all the support that we receive from you at home. And there's no better way to support us than to go over to our coffee. So if you guys would like to support the LPL English, consider becoming a coffee member. Coffee is the best way to support the LPL English project, since the vast majority of your contributions will go directly to the show. A lot of the initial payments go into upgrading the broadcast, but a huge bulk of it pays on our talent and content creators and all the folks that we have helping us behind the scenes. It's not just us that you see on the camera. We got wonderful people like Chippy behind us, people on social media, production, meeting, graphics packages as well. You guys help build this broadcast yourself. We very much appreciate all the support that we've received, whether that's just views, whether that's comments, whether that's sharing with your friends what's going on. But there is no better way to support us than to head on over to our coffee. So I think if Chippy's around, we might have a graphic for that one. But if not, we'll get that up as soon as possible. But please subscribe to our coffee. Thank you, Chippy, for helping us out behind the scenes. But yeah, please subscribe to our coffee. It's linked in the chat to unlock perks like early access to content and the ability to ask interview questions for our unique on-site interviews.
And without further ado, y'all, that is game 1 in the books. We'll see you on the other side for game 2.
Jed, ADC for Dark Zero in the NACL, and I'm here to break down this FPX backdoor and our Pro Diff deep dive. Baron is spawning in 1 minute, and that's the objective to play for, and the next mid wave coming out of base kind of dictates which team will get set up. FPX kind of has a cheat code because they took the enemy inhibitor, so they have the super minions, which will help them push the wave faster and makes their wave tankier. And Silas, he's down 7k gold. He kind of knows he's pretty useless, so he opts to not even show on the side wave and just goes and overgroups on mid wave. On the flip side, IG has rookie TP to the top lane, and then he shifts down to mid. So that's the 2 big advantages FPX has going into this fight. They have TP advantage on their mid laner, and they took the enemy inhibitor. So the fight starts really well for IG. They burn a bunch of the enemy sums and ults, but the problem is, since they contested from top river, they never actually got the wave. Instantly, they start running to the wave. They take the fight away from the TP-less Victor, who's the most fed member in the game, and they just walk the wave down. They know that the game went long enough that winning a 5v5 is not the only way to win the game. They want to play around their advantages, and taking the fight away from the TP-less Victor and into the enemy nexus is their best bet. IG made the mistake of over-chasing into the enemy vision, and they never actually caught the wave. So FPX is actually able to just hit the nexus turrets and threaten an end. Gala never recalled. He opted to just walk to his nexus. Maybe he thought it was faster, but he never actually gets the impact the fight, and FPX actually does get the backdoor off. So in the end, it's really important to know what your advantages are in a game and just playing around them. FPX did that very well from a losing situation and actually won the game off that. Thanks for watching. You can check out one-on-one coaching from me and other pros at prodiff.gg. To stay up to date on everything LPL English, follow at LPL_English on Twitter, and make sure to catch the games on LPL's English Twitch or YouTube. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back, y'all. We are getting ready for game number 2 between JDG and Anyone's Legend. If you missed out on game 1, well, the man on this card right here was the MVP of that game 1, a show-stopping Poppy performance, being able to save Anyone's Legend from the jaws of defeat alongside the support, Kyle.
I was in black. I was feeling it. I can't fit it like Tarzan does. That guy's pretty dripped out. Swaggy, by the way. I really liked how him and Hope were meditating on stage beforehand. Definitely like that presence of mind.
We're locking in.
Making sure they're locked in. And hey, it shined throughout the late game. Tarzan won the Pog. Hope was the big hyper carry who did shine in the later stages of the game. I thought the team played around them really well. And, you know, in hindsight, we're talking to the break, Rafa. It kind of felt like a game that because of that, like, 2 to 3 minute stint of JDG punishing AL, that got us to a late game scenario. But looking back, like, JDG weren't winning on, I feel like, any other point of the game. Like, they got the first 2 dragons, but the Pantheon ults were bad. They were thrown into Scion. Like, the Orianna, it was very clear that in the 5v5s, they only had one way to threaten that Yunara. And if they couldn't find that win condition, which AL did a nice job of preventing in the later fights, they couldn't play. And whether that was, you know, bad ults from shooting early on, Scout building negative damage with the Roa into the Seraphs, I don't know. But what is clear to me is that I thought that was a really solid game from AL. We're going to have a couple of different approaches to the Rift for the next one. And, well, I will say that based on our predictions, Rafa, we kind of expected this.
Going into this series, you look at the previous opponents that both JDG and Anyone's Legend had faced and what their game score was. JDG did take BLG to a full best of 5, and BLG are now sitting in grand finals. Anyone's Legend dropped to Weibo Gaming in the first round, which was one of our first big upsets of the bracket. And then Anyone's Legend just came back with a vengeance, soaring through the lower bracket, disposing of NIP, disposing of IG, who you mentioned earlier. When we saw IG dropping out of the bracket,
I still want IG at Worlds. I really want IG at Worlds. I do. I think that Mako was really on point this split. Just wasn't in the playoffs with Wei and the rest of the squad. But we'll see if they can bounce back after having a bad day. I mean, to be fair, it was a bad day for AL that got them in the lower bracket in the first place. Doing their best to bounce back. One champ that we teased to see if it would make appearance in Champ Select or not, Rafa. It is that Alistar, which is going to be banned away again on the blue side.
Alongside the Azir, and now because of Kanavi and Tien's proficiency on Kiana and bringing it to the fourfold for a lot of the other LPL junglers, that champion has also been eating every single ban in almost every series we've seen since the second round.
Aurora taken away. Rumble ban has to be questioned here for AL. I think this ends up being a Rumble opener with that Aurora ban. Also, Talia's kind of fallen off a little bit in value and priority, but I still think a very big champion for Scout and JDG if they want to rock that one, as it is tied for his most played. So Rumble banned away with Aurora now off the board. I think you're looking at Talia or Ryze in the mid lane, and Scout's going to actually take the Ryze.
While it's not the Talia, it still offers a little bit of that global pressure with a Realm Warp, and it does give you opportunities to at least scale up and be
Galio's
a huge team fighting threat. I think Galio, though, is a big threat that Anyone's Legend can take away from JDG. I think some of JDG's best games historically have been when Scout has been on Galio. Taking it out of this fearless best of 5 is going to limit the options for JDG later on in the series.
So look, like Galio versus Ryze theory. Galio can play really fast on the map, and you can pressure Ryze early on. You can buffer the Empowered Rune Prison with a Justice Punch if you're on point. That really changes up that mid lane matchup. And I just don't agree with them first picking the Ryze with the Galio up. I think this really builds for... I mean, JDG, like, you kind of have to opt for playing late now. And you have to, like, draft the rest of your draft around that. And with Ryze and Xayah, Rakan's be picked up. Rakan has been a really successful support so far in playoffs. I think it's worth noting Rakan's 10-2 coming into this game across all of LPL playoffs. But this is a low-range comp, and I know that AL is already showing dive early on, but if I'm AL now, what can I find later on in this draft that might be able to pressure the Ryze or pressure the Xayah, where they might not be able to freely auto? I think Ezreal ban is a must from JDG here with that in mind. And I think about taking away maybe a Jhin as well.
Yeah, take away the long-range options that can pressure pace on this Xayah without being in range to get completely shredded by the Feathers themselves. JDG still have yet to lock in their top laner and their jungler for Xiaoshu and Shun respectively. The Kai'Sa is an option that I wasn't thinking of personally,
That's
but I guess later on the Void Seekers can get very oppressive.
It's like dive overload, you know? Yeah. Also, it's Hope's Kai'Sa. And important to note, second game in a row, we have seen that Cassante denied by from Xiaoshu. His Cassante is very good. And it's one of his most played champs. So gonna probably be left with an Ornn. I mean, Ezreal does get a lot of push early on, so if they want to use that to like try and find stuff later on, that's doable. We have seen Ezreal or Kalista Renata kind of come back into Xayah Renata, if that's the case. Ooh. See if that ends. I mean, that's the range. That's the range.
Yeah. I like this pick for anyone's legend if they lock in the Ziggs for themselves. If you want to be able to pressure this short range composition from JDG, chuck a Mega Inferno Bomb from a screen away.
This is why I just don't like the opener of Ryze and Xayah Rakan. You are showing a lack of range so early on in the draft. It allows for like identities to be formed later on. So for me, Renekton brings a lot of strength in the top side. He's going to be that meatball. Aatrox, of course, I mean, it's not the best matchup. You can play it. Aatrox is more so being picked up because he can be effective into Galio, and there is no marksman in the game, so that Ziggs damage is kind of going to the wayside later on. Aatrox doesn't really care about that, right? If you have 3 points in ultimate, you're hitting sweet spots, Ziggs damage is negligible, as long as you don't get one shot.
What is Shun's answer
That's the
here?
pick. That's the pick.
Yeah, just go for the early skirmisher. Not only that you'll be able to at least have some priority over the Wukong early on with a little bit more reliable CC pre-level 6, but also the Crescent Guard at least blocks some of that long-range damage. I'm still with you though, Matt, because overall, the way that anyone's legend has been able to answer what JDG showed early on now just puts JDG in this.
Yeah, play Nautilus. It's a Nautilus game. Just use that to find pressure. It's another tool to take away the ultimate from Xayah. Because Xayah, I mean, obviously Xayah, very strong anti-dive champion with the rip, the ability to go up in the air. But that cooldown, especially rank 1, is insanely long. And so if you can find any tools to take away flash, take away the rip, I mean, think of all the tools that AL has on their end to at least try and take some of those tools out of the pool. Whether that's Ziggs damage, whether that's just Galio, like flash threatening, or a depth charge, or a Wukong combo, or even Renekton finding the backline. I think Paze is going to be under a lot of pressure. Xayah is a fantastic champion for Paze, but I don't love what JDG is showing early on. I think that the Galio can really enable the Wukong to get ahead or stay ahead of the Xin Zhao. Wukong very much out-farms that matchup. Or outscales that matchup. He can also really pressure Xayah later on. That clone and the knockups can be enough sometimes, just get around those rips to really try and find the pressure. So, I don't like Rakan into Galio Nautilus. Like, I don't think you get to function this game as Rakan, playing a Renekton, Wukong, Galio Nautilus. So I do not like this draft from JDG.
I think the biggest problem is that JDG were trying to give a lot of grace to Shun in being able to find a more comfortable pick towards the B4, B5 stage, and then just the fact that it ends up just being a Xin Zhao instead feels like we lost a lot of priority in giving Pace something a bit better to answer in what anyone's legend is going to draft, and now it pigeonholed him and set him up to potentially fail because now there are so many dive options that can preemptively burn that Featherstorm as you called out. Paze has to rely on everyone else from his team to peel for him so that he is not put in a position that pretty much threatens his life. But we're going to see how it all unfolds here, Matt, between JDG and anyone's legend as we hit some of this riff for Game 2. Maybe a level 1 here. Zhuo is able to get the grand entrance over the wall, but if Kael wants to send it with the dredge line, snags him. Zhuo shouldn't be forced to use the flash early on, but he's going to take a lot of damage and forced to recall early.
Oh, some good wall tech there in order to use the wall. What isn't the insta-Q into the auto? We'll say, interested to see that graph actually supporting AL later on. Again, I think that AL, like this is a comp where you do not have a traditional marksman. That will be the advantage that Paze and JDG can have later on in this game. I think it really has to come down to some of these executes from AL, especially early on. Think of the strength of Renekton, Galio, Ziggs around a Grubs fight. or around some of these early dragons and their ability to zone out Ryze and Xayah. I think it's very important that AL uses pushed waves to get the objectives first. Walking through minefields and through those bouncing bombs is way different than, trying to use those tools to take back space on the objectives. So I think it's important that AL, they get ahead, they start winning early.
We know that Pays is a fantastic Xayah player. We saw an example of it in their series against Weibo Gaming. Multiple times he had been able to wait until the right moments where Renekton flashed for the stun. He's able to pop the Featherstorm in just the right frame. But how are you supposed to time out Renekton flash stun, Cyclone from Wukong, follow up from Galio? There's so much overload on the dive threats. We cannot overemphasize enough that Pays is really having to not just rely on his own skills, but also everyone else from JDG to bail him out.
And I don't love the tools they took. Like, I know that Xiaoshu can do some work on this Aatrox in the fight, but this Aatrox is going to be behind, and it's not like it's an Ornn, where you could be playing Ornn of the game with no marksman. I mean, I was kind of surprised that it wasn't just Ornn coming through, because that would help create more space for the Xayah than an Aatrox for me. So, kind of interesting. Again, I do think that if this game goes really late, AL could suffer from the lack of not having a marksman. I think that execution going to be a little bit harder for them later on, just with no marksman, as sometimes that DPS can solve a lot of your problems in fights. And if they take an undisciplined fight, JDG will out DPS them heavily later on. But the bursts around some of their spells and some of the tools they have, very real. See if AL can make the best of it in this one.
Yep. And I like that you highlighted that anyone's legend would love to at least get ahead early so that they can really empower a lot of the strengths that they have with some of these untraditional picks. Obviously, Ziggs has been picked multiple times in the bot lane before, but when you do not have a marksman, you still have siege strength in the power of Ziggs' passive. But you need to be able to get ahead, prioritize those grubs so that you can overemphasize the ability to take out those turrets and get a lot of free standing gold quickly to put yourself in a better position for that mid game.
Speaking of better position for mid game, Flandre already yoinked a point with the Demolish. It's kind of funny up there. And they could look here.
Oh no, Xiaoshu. Tarzan clones in. There's no CC from the Wukong, but there's a lot of damage, and Xiaoshu respects it. Flashes away.
Yeah, gonna get his flash. This is a matchup that Renekton can win. So good to see a little bit of pressure come down to try and help with that. As Flandre, definitely expect for him to be ahead early on in this matchup. Just the healing you get from Renekton is kind of tough for an Aatrox to deal with. Ooh. Kind of messed up the wave a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that Xiaoshu sustains himself enough that he's not forced to use the TP early on, despite the gank, it's pretty good state for this Aatrox right now.
Oh, that's big. I mean, the way that you can get ahead in this matchup is if... I mean, he's going to have to match the TP, but still, Flandre didn't go offensive at all on Renekton. He went Ruby Crystal and Cloth Armor, which... a little interesting. Sometimes you are able to one-shot Renekton in this one, but I think that's just very clear given the build that the focus is on the bot lane, and understandably so. The setting behind the singular marksman in this game, definitely going to be a big mission for AL.
We haven't had or seen an opportunity for Shun to get aggressive here on the bottom side. He has decent setup between both Pays and Zhuo, who have CC at their disposal if they are able to land it here. And Tarzan, like we said before, this Wukong, the one benefit that you have as the Xin Zhao into the Wukong matchup is you have CC pre-level 6. Dredge line does connect onto Pays. Heal is expended. Shun is coming around the corner. Dashes on the Kael, flashes away. He follows up, but I don't think he's going to get the 3-talent strike onto him, so he just looks for hope. But a lot of the damage has already been expended by JDG because Pays was chunked out of the fight.
Yeah, Pays is too low. JDG, all they can do with this wave is just try and get it in, get Pays the winning reset, and that's it. So, sums out of Kael, who has a spellbook. Could be better, could be worse.
I don't know if this is 2020 in hindsight, Matt, but I feel like if you are Xin Zhao, you should be pressuring the Ziggs early on and not trying to take out the Nautilus. I know.
Yeah, I mean, the Naut was the one who was low, and I think he was just trying to prep 3-talent strikes.
Sure.
I mean, at least he got sums out. Like, Ziggs wasn't in reach, so you don't want to, like, get hooked and take free damage. I just think that, like, with how Pays got low so early, there just was no real play there. for Shun. It mostly just ended up being a prank and helping FaZe get a good reset, which we got value off of, but now these swaps are a little bit awkward as Scout finds himself bot and can take a lot of damage here. FaZe Rush gets him out.
Yep. The movement speed from the Keystone is enough for him to disengage from the trade before Tarzan is able to get in range, which he's level 6, by the way, so Cyclone is available. This is a very scary Wukong, and the fact that he's able to get that ultimate before Shun even hits level 6, he knows he has priority from bot lane. It should be a free Drake timer here.
What I was talking about last game was how Grubs are the priority, and a lot of teams, they're using their stronger early games to take Grubs over Drake. Well, the way to break that is to take Drake before the Grubs spawn. AL definitely are showing enough early game and have enough winning matchups where they can for sure do this. And that's not to mention just Tarzan having a 1-camp lead, because that 1 camp, well, it netted him 6. Shun's still fishing for his on the top side. He is going to kill the blue buff, which does get him 6, but a little bit too little too late for the Drake, as that goes to the side of Tarzan and AL.
I mean, the efficiency that Tarzan has historically had as a jungler is just so unparalleled by a majority of the junglers here in the LPL. We know that Shun at his ceiling has been able to tango with some of the best of them, but Tarzan really does feel like one of the big raid bosses in this lower bracket. JDG,
he's an LPL raid boss, man.
Yeah. I mean, listen, credit to JDG that they overcame Weibo, who sent Anyone's Legend to the lower bracket in the first place, but that was not the same Anyone's Legend that we're now seeing in the past 2 best of 5s.
100% agree. I will say on the top side, I don't love how Flandre is like playing out the 1v1. I think that he's had a lot of trouble getting that wave all the way in against the Aatrox, and he's gonna need to at least find some sort of prio here, because the focus is on this top side. As the Grubs are being started, AL spot this. It's gonna be 1 going over to JDG for sure. Shun saves his smite, so can pressure another one. As Flandre again is, I mean, the wave's frozen on him, and his conditions are not good.
Chunked out here. Shun can at least look for the smite onto the second Grub. Tarzan is able to burn it down and conserves his smite. Yeah, who's going to get it? 1300 HP. It's a 900 smite fight, and Tarzan is successful with it. Engaged with the Cyclone, Mega Inferno Bomb over the top, and even though Flandre was chunked out of the fight, he still got the dominance, and that's a big team fight win for Anyone's Legend, as JDG is sent fleeing for the hills. Scout comes in with the flash, tries to root up Tarzan, but the heroic entrance from Shanks allows him to save his jungler, and Pays is under fire, forced to flash away from Shanks.
Good takeaway on the flash, and again, JDG, they contest an objective, lose out on it, and we're setting up in drafts, Rafa. This is not a winning fight for them. The fact that they're trying to sign up for it, I mean, I'm super down to take 1 Grub away. I don't think you can take a fight away, though, from AL. And even in spite of Renekton conditions, which were not great, Flandre was still able to have an impact on the fight, be that strong Renekton at Grubs, and AL just find themselves further and further ahead.
Yeah, low-key, after this point, I thought you just collapse onto Flandre where the weaker side of the flank is, but they just opt into the AoE.
Yeah, I mean, Pays, he does his best to get out of here. I think that the E is well-positioned. It just doesn't find a really significant rip, and then, I mean, Scout flashed in and instantly had to walk out as he kind of blew his flash for nothing because Pays lost his flash in the end anyway. And now AL, I mean, we talked about, you know, the Galio into the Rise. Galio wants to play fast. You can pressure the Rise. You can just... I mean, Rise builds double scaling items. Galio doesn't. You're just a more effective champion early on. You can throw your weight around early on in a way that Rise can't deal with. And I'm staring down the barrel of AL, and that's all I'm thinking about now in this early game. There's no way this Dragon's going to be contestable for JDG with no flash mid, no flash AD. You're down 2 Drakes. You're down Grubs. You're down 1k gold. Like, what was the idea of this draft for JDG? I mean, I know we can get back in later on, but there are a bajillion tools to take away the Xayah ult. And we saw Pays have difficulty early on in that fight, just let alone, I mean, JDG was weaker, but we saw how if you spread out those tools for AL, you can start to dwindle the resources of Pays. He did lose out on his ult and flash in the end.
When we saw JDG find surprise wins in their previous series, it was bold, aggressive plays, and they had no hesitation in making them. I see a lot more hesitation and a lot more insecurity. Hang on, though. Shun onto the top side. Flashes and commits into Flandre for this kill. He has no flash available, should be one more on attack, and it's the Darkened Blade from Xiaoshu that claims his first kill of the game.
I mean, that's a pickup, but meanwhile, on the flip side, you have the Ziggs deleting the wave, and I don't know if they can group recall, as Hope should be able to stop him.
Scout has Realm Warp, but he is not being given a chance to join. He's able to bypass Shanks, but the heroic entrance is still available. Now Scout is cut off.
He's dead.
a taunt is going to land onto a flashless Rise, and anyone's legend take the freebie for the feat of warfare.
Oh, Scout, more like scoot his way onto the gray screen as he realm warps down bot, gets out-roamed by the Galio, and it's not a bot dive, but it's still a positive play as they remove the mid laner, the double scaling items mid laner that needs time to, build up, scale up. That's now being delayed, so they keep Pays alive, but it's still pretty expensive in order to do so for JDG.
We didn't get a chance to touch upon this early on, Matt, but when we looked at the struggling season of JDG, especially in Split 3, even early on in Split 2, a lot of JDG's foundation has to be set up from Scout, one of the most veteran members of this squad. There have been so many puzzling rotations made by this guy that has completely compromised JDG's position in the early game.
And look, I was early to the train of it in Split 2. I was watching games like, dude, what's going on with Scout, right? And we're just playing for so many side waves that we don't need. And now I feel the same way with Scout. He got a wee bit better in Split 3, but we have still seen so many holes in this mid laner's play, who has been such a hero for the LPL historically. I mean, he's the guy that won Worlds for EDG, right? He's the guy that was, bringing teams to Worlds with his play. Looking at past Worlds runs that he was able to pull off with teams like, LNG, right? So I think that Scout, again, this was a best of 5 coming in where Shanks is the better mid laner. And that was not the opinion that people had at the start of the year, given the pedigree of Scout and these players, but it's what has been earned by each of the players from what we've seen in the Rift this year.
And for JDG fans, they saw glimmers of hope where Scout was actually able to perform to his former peak in some of the series that JDG won against EDG, against Weibo Gaming. He's able to step up and match Xiaohu and match Angel, who are longtime historical mid laners for the LPL. And I imagine that JDG fans going into this best of 5, they knew Scout's follies in Split 3, in Split 2, but they were hoping that he would at least lock in for a majority of the series. And right now, the first 2 games between the Orianna build and now the early mishaps on this Rise, it's not looking good for JDG.
Scout's going to need to step up as, again, this for JDG, this is really big for their Worlds opportunities. They're seeded into the regional gauntlet bracket at the moment. They need more wins to try and get themselves out of there. But frankly, they really have to pull off a miracle, it feels like, to get an auto-qualifying seed. It's pretty much just going to require winning the split, right?
Yep.
But
that is the only way.
That's the only way. So, yeah, for JDG, but that difference in the regional bracket, we talked about it with that upper seed versus the lower seed. If you're in that upper bracket, BO5, of course, 4 teams playing the regional gauntlet. If you're in the upper one, you have 2 chances to make Worlds. If you're in the lower one, you have to win 2 best of 5s in a row to make Worlds. And that's a really big difference.
Oh, look at that. Pays. Immediately respecting Tarzan to be able to send it with the Cyclone. It's just forced to use the Featherstorm. And that is so big because Tarzan didn't even have to use anything there.
And think about the setup that we had earlier in the day, Rafa. It was Pays and Tarzan, the 2 highest performers on these teams, respectively. It was game 1 mid lane, round level 9, where Tarzan was able to get the best of Pays with a kill that he had, Poppy versus Corki. Now it's him getting that ult out for free. And again, talk about how long that cooldown is. That's nearly a 3-minute cooldown when you're looking at Xayah ult. So Pays gonna have a lot of waves now where he can be attacked.
He's got Flash Cleanse, but Cleanse does not do anything for you when you're getting knocked up by Justice Punch, Cyclone, Death Charge from Kael. Hell, a Satchel Charge could pretty much set you up to die. JDG have an opportunity to try to burn the Rift Herald, but they're on full vision doing this, and anyone's legend should have the opportunity to collapse.
Interesting force here by JDG. Tarzan still has ultimate. They're going to try and get him out of the pit first. But
Tarzan forced to use the Cyclone, Mega Inferno Bomb over the top, but Shun blocks it with a Crescent Guard. 1500 HP on the Rift Herald. It resets, and now everyone is slamming each other into the pit. Tarzan is the first one to die. Xiaoxu with the World Ender. He spreads his demonic wings. Wait a minute, the Darkened Blade can find redemption for JDG as Flandra's cut off for the rest of the team. JDG, it didn't look good, but they force it anyway, and they come out on top.
Nice escape by Hope, but the Aatrox ends up coming up big. As talked about Aatrox in a game where there is no marksman, and frankly, the damage that could threaten Aatrox there, it wasn't there. Flandre was not in the pit. He kind of TP'd outside of it and just took a lot of damage. Hope blew his cooldowns early. They were on Xin Zhao, which was unwarranted as Shun popped the ult and got out of the Super Mega Inferno Bomb damage. And that was an oopsie of a fight there from AL. So good punish from JDG. Again, I highlighted that this team comp can scale as time goes on. There's no marksman. on the side of AL, and this is not the fight that you want as AL. I feel like this is not a fight where it's cleanly taken on their terms. It's Tarzan entering the back of the pit, trying to play this, and they're not fighting on the carries. They're fighting on the front line, the exact fight that Aatrox wants, as Xiaoshu bought so much time here. With Zhuo, had a really good grand entrance, and Xiaoshu with the Sundered Sky just started pumping out damage on this Aatrox. And there was no Flandre there to really deal with him, and Tarzan was taken down first, and the Galio just gets absolutely melted by Aatrox. So, yeah, that was a rough fight by AL. I think that Tarzan needs to play that one slower. He needs to either get out of the pit once Shun hops on him and seed it from there, or they have to at least set up a fight where they can play for the carries and aren't on the retake. Because Hope was retaking there. You want to have Ziggs set up and have Xayah have the Rise walk through that damage.
Yeah, that was the big thing for me, right? Just watching back the replay, Hope was completely isolated. He throws the Mega Inferno Bomb. That's all he can contribute. He can't get into the back of the pit. Shun with the Crescent Guard mitigates all of the range damage and any threat that Hope has on to the Xin Zhao in the fight. And anyone's Legend, if they continue being disconnected, well, it doesn't matter what we set up for the win conditions of this competition.
Again, like it's one marksman versus no marksman. You don't want to give that marksman a DPS fight. With Ziggs, you want to use your range, your control in order to control the Xayah that does get outranged by everything that you have. But if you play into the Aatrox, that's kind of what you're asking for.
Anyone's Legend and JDG tussle in the mid lane, and exhaust is thrown onto Xiaoshu's Aatrox as they are able to at least get the guaranteed charge onto the mid tier 1. It does not knock it down. But JDG have position, trying to contest for the third dragon of the game.
Redemption already gone from JDG. That means that whatever poke damage Hope's able to connect with might stick now.
JDG tried to start up the dragon right now. Anyone's Legend looking for the retake. Realm Warp from Scout tries to rejoin the fight here. Crescent Guard pushes them away. Decent damage onto Kyle. Xiaoshu pops the World Ender, gets the first reset thanks to Pays being able to knock down the Nautilus. And the rest of JDG just return to the Dragon Pit, look for the guarantees secure on this objective as the rest of Anyone's Legend forfeit the fight.
Flandre has just not been in the mix of these fights. Like, we've seen 2 fights that have been dog piles. I don't think that's exactly what AL wants. Like, they want this play pattern where you're walking in the Ziggs. But Flandre, I mean, it's been Xiaoshu in the mix and Flandre not in the mix. And that's a big difference. I mean, you're each playing a different iteration of a brawler top laner. We've seen how effective Xiaoshu is. I feel like Renekton's the one that has to, pressure and put down the damage. But he checks out of the flank. It's kind of a weird one. As, again, I guess he failed the dash over. And then flashes over.
No.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, that explains that. Again, I think if Flandre actually gets involved there, it's a good fight. But that was a stinker of a fight from Flandre. I think you need to lead with Flash, because Shun dies if you lead with Flash. Then you get 2 E's in order to find the execute afterwards.
I know that there's been a lot of burden on DePays' shoulder this series, but I think one of the things we highlighted that not only Zhuo was pretty active in the early game despite not having level 6 before Kyle, I think Xiaoshu has also been one of the shining hopes for JDG. It wasn't apparent that that was going to be the case when we first came into Split 3 off of the roster swap, but even through all of the mishaps and the struggles that JDG has had, Xiaoshu has been one of the biggest surprises to come from this roster change. And here in playoffs, he is trying to do his best to hold the team together.
Honestly, I mean, it's been interesting kind of talking about this guy, because it feels like he, more so plays the fighters and the tanks. And he's had some picks that he really, resonates with in terms of, I'm thinking of Cassante specifically. I think he's looked pretty good in that champ, but he's kind of just been a spectator top lane. If he ends up having, a really pop-off performance against Flandre, I mean, just, again, the guy that was the top laner for Scout on that team, right? That have won with EDG. I mean, he is a legendary top laner in the LPL. This has been kind of a tough game from Flandre. I think that he didn't play the lane the strongest, and yeah, seeing that last fight, again, I think that Xin Zhao dies if Renekton leads with Flash and goes from there. Instead, try to go for the slice and dice, and hard to slice and dice through rocks. It's not exactly something you can pull off in the kitchen.
Nope.
I need some industrial grade Renekton for that. I feel like he's a prehistoric croc, not really fitting of the era.
I mean, a part of me believes that Anyone's Legend took this Renekton pick as a denial from Xiaoshu because his most picked champions in Split 3 and the ones that won the most on were both Renekton and Cassante. They banned the Cassante to deny it in this game 2 as a matchup into the Renekton, and now it's going to be gone for the rest of Fearless. Scout could be in trouble here. Phase Rush gives him a decent movement speed bump, but no one from Anyone's Legend could really threaten on the pick there. Redemption from Zhuo heals him back to nearly full as the rest of JDG trying to take control on the top side of the river.
pretty preemptive redemption. I mean, I think that if you're AL, again, you have redemption up, the enemy team doesn't. Like, this is a real cooldown to fight around right now with just the strength of redemption on this patch. This thing will be nerfed for Worlds, but it's not nerfed for the LPL domestic finals. And yeah, it does some serious work. Like, if I'm JDG, there's no chance that I touch Otacon before I have redemption coming back up cooldown. But hey, in game 1, they decided to fight Otacon being down to redemption in full. So we'll see if that actually has an impact on them. But yeah, AL with the redemption up themselves, I mean, that can neutralize a lot of the Otacon damage, not the resistance shred, but they're going to start this one up.
Control Ward at least sees that the Otacon has been started for JDG. Anyone's Legend burning this down.
Flandre base from TP. Xiaoshu base
coming in from Flandre.
No base from Xiaoshu. Yeah, Flandre was able to base. No base from the Aatrox. I don't know what the items are like, but that could have an impact.
Gotta be careful. Mega Inferno Bomb over the top. Decent damage onto Pay's
Really good damage.
Otacon does reset a little bit on the HP, but it's still not back to full. It's still 6k
This is what they want.
HP.
They just want to pull it up north and try and force them to walk through Ziggs as much as possible.
He's popping the dominance, ready to threaten JDG from being able to enter into the pit. Big knockup there from Zhuo, tries to answer back, but here comes the heroic entrance from Shanks over the top on top. Anyone's Legend is able to secure the Otacon. Xiaoshu now charges forward in the World Ender form, looking to see if he can catch anyone. The Flash Darkened Blade does not find anyone as Anyone's Legend makes the retreat happen. Pays still pursuing alongside Zhuo. They've got the pin in the corner, but there's no World Ender anymore for Xiaoshu. This is a big limit test. Xiaoshu not able to do it. Pays now alone, flashes away from the Justice Punch. Does he have enough damage? He cannot pump out enough feathers, and Anyone's Legend only drops 1, but the reward is 2 grand against JDG.
Scout sending the wave in. They're going to try and make this play.
Whoa, he had to flash onto Tarzan to force the recall from being interrupted. He's able to get a double. Scout is at least able to get 2 kills back into the pockets of JDG, and they'll take the turret in trade.
Shanks could have looked for the taunt to draw tower aggro. He does not. Great play from Scout to honestly salvage the play from JDG. I was fearing for JDG. They just played right into the win con of AL, which is walking into Ziggs. And honestly, that play, I think they lose out on soul point from it because this took too long. But this is Flandre getting in the mix, and this Renekton is very big at this point. Was able to buy so much time, buy so much space, and yes, he goes down, but it's for the Otacon, and JDG with a numbers advantage, they try and push up, but you're pushing up through a Ziggs. Hope is very big in this game. Look at Scout get chipped out. I love this angle from Shanks. Gets a Summoner Spell immediately away from Pays. And Zhuo and Xiaoshu trying to send this is just way too far. Tarzan does a very good job of dancing around this fight. And Pays can never truly get involved thanks to the damage from Hope and the zoning from Shanks.
JDG are the first ones into the river, but they can't rip the dragon quite yet. It's the 4th one of the game. If Anyone's Legend is able to find a secure onto it, it would put them at soul point. The experience lead. Not the hugest thing for the side of Anyone's Legend, despite picking up the Otacon. Surprisingly, JDG still able to match them, but JDG, can they find the fight there? 2,000 gold up, looking at Shanks. Big knockup onto the Galio. The flash from Kael kind of goes nowhere. Shun is able to buy some time with the Crescent Guard. Flandre goes in, pops the Seraph Cage. The first trade happens. It's 1 for 1 so far. Cyclone rips from Tarzan, but he's forced to retreat back. Zhuo and Pays doing everything they can. Shanks pressuring. Big rip with the Blade Caller. Shanks is forced to use the hero's entrance as a hero's retreat, but he's still not dead. And the Dragon still at 7,000 HP. Scout Hope trying to pressure forward, but Hope has the HP lead, and he's got the bombs, and it's enough to force JDG away from the Dragon Pit.
This game is getting kind of chaotic as each of these very different compositions are trying to force their will upon the other. And I think that AL, they need to be just a wee bit more disciplined in some of the angles they're holding, but they have the harder to execute composition, just trying to, again, they have to use their range. But Hope is starting to really step up and do some significant damage in these standoffs, and I like how AL, they're starting to commit more to the standoffs, Rafa. We saw them, you know, Otacon, Dragon, they were behind in gold, but they're committing to what their win con wants and trying to make it work. TPs are coming in.
The charge gets interrupted. Xiaoshu now looking forward to try and punish the flashless Ziggs. Pays steps up right behind the Aatrox. Shanks goes in with the Justice Punch, but there's no flash from Shanks. There's no hero's entrance for the retreat either. He's in a world of trouble. Pays slices him down to size, and JDG are now 5-4 on the map.
I think you were electing kind of which member to drop there as AL. It was a very good play for the Dragon, an unwarranted push for the tower, which led to a good TP from Xiaoshu. And now this redemption being used, that's a lot of healing around the Baron. and a flip might ensue, but Hope's damage here is very significant.
They're
As
looking
good
for the
angle.
turn. They're trying to bait them in. Flandra still has
Good
flash
angle.
available, but he doesn't get a time to be able to get away. JDG turn right back onto the Baron, but now they're getting dropped low on HP bar. Scout is the target, but he goes into stasis. The death charge now gone. Tarzan forced to use the Cyclone, trying to retreat, trying to run away. Anyone's Legend is able to create enough distance, and JDG have lost their window to pressure for the Baron.
They've lost their tempo. Hope has been so good on the Ziggs so far. I cannot emphasize how good Hope has been so far on the Ziggs. We know he can play it. I just want you guys to keep your eyes on Hope and the value that he gets throughout this fight. It's Shanks that gets hit early on. It's a good Super Mega Inferno Bomb. I mean, that W, watch the Ws that Hope is throwing out. It feels like a lot of them are buying space for him and the team, exactly what he wants to do. As again, like, the ability for Galio and Wukong to draw the circles and Hope to put down the damage is very real. I think that Shanks is playing these fights just a wee bit too fast. For me, that's kind of the difference maker in these. As he got caught out early on in this one, got caught out in the series of events that led to the Baron standoff. In the end, it is JDG pocketing gold, but AL being down gold, it still feels like they're able to play their composition. It just gets harder for them to play it. Like, the consistency of the circles they have, the range they have, and the execute, it's there, but they need the damage behind it too. And letting Ryze, Aatrox, and Xayah scale into the game, it is quite scary. There's a Vamp on Pays, which means he's going to have much better conditions throughout as he tries to survive some of this Ziggs poke.
And as you pointed out, JDG do find themselves ahead in gold, but most of it is into Pays and Xiaoshu's pockets, which does get very dicey for Anyone's Legend later the game goes on, as that is a marksman versus no marksman difference. But Anyone's Legend doing everything they can to play to the outs of their win condition. They still have decent overload with their dive threats onto Pays, but he's got Featherstorm, he's got Flash and Cleanse, back up for the next fight.
He does. Again, it's just going to be the range of Xayah versus the range of Ziggs. It's full advantage to Ziggs. So again, the DPS fights, AL, they don't want to sign up for it. They would love to sign up for the Ziggs standoff of the lifetime. As I will say, sneaky ward again from Kyle.
Wow.
On this top side is, yeah, and he's starting this Baron. He's going to be spotted out by AL and JDG playing with false information here.
This is now the second game in a row where JDG think they have swept out everything from Anyone's Legend, but there is one ward that is just a pixel outside of the control ward that is supposed to give JDG the vision advantage.
TP is a little funky for me. I mean, they really want to play this Baron, but that does take away a lot of future power from Scout, who is 16 and can actually pressure on the side lane. He's up a full item now with that Zanya's. The Scout's quite big on the rise.
Flandra threatening from the top side. Tarzan has Flash. He has Smite. It's less than 5k. 3k. Big Inferno Bomb into the top. Tarzan steals the objective away from Shun's hands. And even though Tarzan goes down, he goes down as a hero for Anyone's Legend. Flandra cut off from the retreat path. Not able to find the recall. JDG will take 2 kills for their trouble, but not getting the Baron is going to hurt.
I mean, there wasn't even an effort from JDG to try and find Tarzan there. He cleared a ward. He was on the top side. They didn't even try and stop him from getting into the pit. That's what tilts me. I think it's like the right call from JDG to, again, when you're up against these poke comps, you have to use the neutral objectives to bring the enemy team to you and close the gap with that range. So, like, the idea of hitting this, the idea of the Realm Warp afterwards is good. But they just don't care about Tarzan. Like, this is a straight flip. Zhuo, you have quickness, you have flash.
No,
go find the Wukong. And I know it just barely misses, but you're signing up for the flip. You have tools in order to guarantee that it's not a flip. They didn't even attempt to use any of those tools. That's why I'm frustrated at JDG.
And Anyone's Legend find themselves at Ocean's Soul Point, which is why JDG are forced to rip this objective. Anyone's Legend are now given more time on the map to try and use their Baron buff to continue stalling the game out. And you think about the one objective that JDG could have been using to override the power of Hope's wave clear on this Ziggs. The fact that they don't get the Baron buff now, there's a chance for Anyone's Legend to do some serious damage across all of the turrets on the map.
I mean, that mid lane turret is an empowered cannon auto into a satchel charge away from dying. So, yeah. But they still have to play defense. Like JDG, it still feels like they are, I mean, they have more gold. It feels like they are the stronger comp. It's just that AL, their comp, can play at a range and in a way around their windows that JDG can somewhat struggle against if AL plays it right. So
it just feels so bizarre that JDG are ahead in gold, and yet it feels like they're the ones playing up the hill, that they are the ones playing from behind.
I mean, we've started to see a lot of Ziggs in the Xayah, especially in LCK. Like, I think KT used it to beat Gen G in one of those games. I like this matchup a lot. I think that my whole theory into Xayah, if I see Xayah early in draft, is I want to take range. I want to take ways that, you know, it forces out Xayah's R, then she doesn't line up for these big rips. I mean, Ziggs fits perfectly into that. I mean, auto attack and the snapper charge, and it's dead.
Kyle leads the charge. Shun getting knocked up in the bounce house. It's actually Xiaoshu that falls, and no chance to pop the world ender. The big carry top laner for JDG is the first one to fall, and anyone's legend. They're looking very hopeful about their chances to continue the siege in the mid lane.
I mean, Xiaoshu just too far up. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's been a really good series from him so far, Rafa, but that's a big mistake. Going to allow for AL to continue this Baron push. As, Hope, I mean, a few auto attacks away from pretty much knocking this one down, and Pays his conditions being chipped away. He does have access to Vamp when he gets the wave, but not when there's no wave. So, well played by Hope and well played by AL. Again, this is a clash of styles of compositions, guys. So, AL, they love the standoffs, whereas JDG have to find ways to close the gap. It's been fun to see both these teams go toe-to-toe. It has been the cleanest game, but for sure I've seen attempts from each team to kind of assert their style, assert their will on the other.
I think it just speaks volumes, though, about anyone's Legend's resilience and their tenacity in this game. The fact that they've been behind on the gold advantage for a majority of this second game, and yet they're the ones feeling like they're dictating the pace of the game. They're the ones forcing JDG into these desperate map plays, these maneuvers. And anyone's Legend continue to reap the rewards of it. They're the ones coming out on top of it. And JDG, even though we talked about the scaling aspects of this composition, that Xayah can still make a big difference in just being a marksman champion and anyone's Legend not having one. The way that anyone's Legend has played this out, it's just phenomenal.
It has been fun to, I mean, it hasn't been perfect. It's been a toughie from Flandre, but I think Hope has been phenomenal in his own right, for sure. And again, it's a clash of styles. I mean, Hope is the carry that AL puts a lot of faith in to execute. Hope did execute well on the last late game, as that is a single ult from Hope, and that is a half HP Pays. Again, he does have the Vamp to try and bounce back from this one, but that is the threat of this late game Ziggs, and the damage that Hope can do. I mean, he brought the Morellonomicon, which I gotta say, given the healing of the Xayah, given the healing of Redemption, given the healing of Aatrox, is, I think, quite worth this game. And yeah, I mean, I just want to see like what Hope can get done, because I'm expecting to see a last item death cap. He could go for the Zanyas, but might as well just go Glass Cannon while your conditions are up, and let's see what you can do, man. He's been doing a lot of work in this game.
Pays has definitely found ways to bring a game from the jaws of defeat just by going on the aggressive. Mega Inferno Bomb doesn't hit the sweet spot, but still a solid chunk onto Pays' health bar there, already brought down from a quarter of his full health bar.
Oh, okay. I thought I saw a locket used from Jouot. He has in the inventory. It wasn't used there. But June going in.
Tries to look for the engage.
I don't love that. Yeah.
I mean, Crescent Guard is now expended. Anyone's Legend having not necessarily a full ultimate advantage, but that's 1-for-1 so far.
There's a world where if you're Kyle, I mean, you can really look for a play here. As
he's not necessarily just connected here. Now trying to target Flandre here, brought down below 50% HP, but he just uses the slice and dice to get over the Raptor pit wall. Tarzan now looks for the Cyclone. Scout forced to go into the stasis. Another Mega Inferno Bomb over the top. Pays doing everything he can to put a bunch of feathers into this front line, but anyone's Legend have the momentum, and they're the ones pushing JDG out of their own jungle quadrant. Shanks on the forefront, looks for the engage. Pays goes into the air with the Feather Storm, and now it's Tarzan on the flank. Pays is able to eliminate him, but he's still got a GA. Flandre trying to pressure him out. Pays, it's all on you, my friend. Pays, can he find a miracle here? But not a chance. Hope blows him to smithereens, and anyone's Legend continue the victory rally.
Dude, this is like watching Mike Trout on the Angels as Scout TPs straight to his death, scoots his way to another gray screen. And man, I mean, JDG just came falling apart at the seams, Rafa. Like, I don't, that fight they took, I don't see the theory behind it. That was so random to me. And it was AL who, it was split on the terrain with that ramp into the Raptors. They commit to one side of the fight, and they end up winning out despite what I thought was an insane fight from Pays. He just can't do enough in this game, and now that you're giving a Ziggs comp in Ocean Soul, there is never going to be a world where AL is not fighting with the conditions they want for the rest of this game.
I know the game is not over yet, Matt, but if we go to a game 3, I want the draft to respect more on Pays' agency and ability to play this game for JDG, because this second draft has been so difficult for him to play out.
I mean, like, watch Pays in this fight. Like, he has such a good one. I love the cancel that Shuo has onto the Galio there, but they lost so much damage just committing to try and find Hope in the choke. As Hope didn't even need to flash himself out. It just had enough space. Pays couldn't reach. And again, as long as you keep the Ziggs and the Xayah on opposite sides of the fight, the Ziggs can always pressure the Xayah. The Xayah can never pressure the Ziggs. And once AL were able to kind of get back to their formation, Hope throws a little LeBron James alley-oop over to Pays. I guess we'll use two different sports for an analogy. And then Scout decides to donate one more for the cause. As
you know, the funny thing is, Matt, when you go back to Split 1, when JDG were, I think, at their peak form, even Split 2 early on. Hang on, I'll hold that point. Flandra getting isolated by the rest of JDG, and Tarzan is just going to go and cut the wave. Hang on. He's got an Ocean Soul, but he's at least able to just distract JDG because the rest of his team is saying, I mean, cool, you got our Renekton, but we are opening up the base on the top side. Now, the rest of JDG are forced in a position where they have to force. They have the numbers advantage here, but this Ziggs is creating enough distance with the power of these explosive mines. They can't even look for an engage.
Flandre continues to have a happy game. All good within the team. He did play that last fight really well. I think the couple of fights the AL has won, Flandre has done his job in terms of taking up space, but yeah, he's definitely playing a Renekton that's behind and whose job is to tank a very far ahead Xayah, which is not easy.
Definitely not a job that I envy there. It's a good look from JDG.
The Realm Warp's been good from Scout. It's just that some of the team fights he has not navigated that well in the back half.
Yep. As I was trying to say earlier, Matt, it's funny that when you think about some of the early adopters of Ziggs and LPL, Pays was one of them. And I affectionately gave him the codename LeBron Pays, as he was able to find many of his dunks. But Hope has been able to put on a hell of a Ziggs performance in his own right, so...
Oh, man. You know what you got to call Pays? A little bit of NBA throwback. Gary Payton Jr., his nickname was The Hand, because he was so good at defense. It should have been, you know, Gary Payton. Not as famous, but The Hand. Kind of sick if you're a league player, you know. Knight's the golden left hand. What's Pays? Besides Pays Pal, which, I mean, if we want to get into that,
my
maybe
NBA
he's like...
knowledge is so limited, like, LeBron James
fine.
and Kobe are like the extent of it, and Michael
That's
Jordan.
fine. You know,
Maybe
with...
Allen Iverson, you know, but that's like a ball hog kind of affiliation there.
I was about to make a JDG, you know, Pays Pal joke with like Steve Ballmer, Kawhi Leonard, and what's going on there. You have no idea what's going on there. Flandre, though,
might be caught up. The Redemption does a lot of work in the Ocean Soul. Heals him up. He still survives. Are you kidding me? Pays is forced to go up the air with the Feather Storm. Can he put out the damage? He's trying to shred with the Feather. Shanks is standing up as the main front line as he goes into stasis at the right time, preserves his life, and he still has a TP to rejoin with the team.
And Pays continues to have really nice fights. Got out of both Tarzan and Shanks there. The combo in the back line. A tip assist from Shun as well. But it just doesn't matter. AL, they have the Ocean Soul. They have the Ziggs. The conditions are still fine. They can continue to siege. They've already taken one inhibitor. Make that two. And honestly, looking at 3 here.
I mean, not just yet here for anyone's legend. They have a minion wave they have to kill first. And the rest of JDG are committed to try and defend this wave from crashing, but anyone's legend are slowly undermining JDG's base.
Again, like for JDG, I mean, this is a game that you're going to look at the scoreboard after the first 2 games, Rafa, and be like, man, if you didn't watch this series, like, this is a pretty close series. I mean, these are going 40-plus minutes. Kills are being traded back and forth. But if you watch the tape of these games, I mean, I don't think that AL has been out of control for more than 20% of this series. Like, I just think that the way that AL have been able to play their comps, play their win cons, it's been like such clearly better setups to me. And when JDG has gotten ahead, I feel like it's been more so off of mistakes from AL than off of good plays by JDG. I will get, like, the last sequence they had at game 1 was a really good sequence from JDG that punished AL when they did get split off. So I thought it was well executed. Like, there have been some well executed realm warps for Scout to find numbers, but outside of those tools, I mean, what sort of fight have we seen where JDG is like, wow, like this was taken, you know, on your conditions where you were favored heading into this fight? I don't feel like we've seen any of those fights that have existed unless it's like a mistake from AL that leads to JDG having positive numbers.
I mean, for JDG in the prior series where they found themselves victorious and advancing to this point in the lower bracket, JDG, even if the angle looks suspicious. Everyone commits. Everyone is confident in the move or the engage that they go for. And JDG are able to pull out a lot of these miracle fights that have no business in being winning ones. But a majority of this series, JDG, I feel like they've been directionless. I feel like they've been nowhere near as confident as they have been in prior series. Shun has had to be the leader for this team. That we got praise from both Clearlove and Zhuo on this guy stepping up and trying to be the captain, the leader for this squad, but Tarzan has just been a much more decisive jungler and leader for the squad on the other side of the rift here.
It's not just Tarzan. Like, it's also been, I think that Zhuo's been okay so far in the series, but I don't see him leading the charge. He's kind of playing follow-up in Rakan. I do think it's a really hard game to operate as Rakan. I just want to see more good plays from Scout. Like, I think that Scout had that one good angle around the Baron. It's the only time I can think of a winning fight for JDG. And now, I mean, you have to charge into an Ocean Soul Ziggs comp that they see you bot wave. Watch how Hope plays this wave, by the way. He's going to kill this whole wave from, like, over the wall. They never even have to, like, seed this choke, seed this vision.
He's forced to try and help defend Tarzan from getting collapsed upon. Decent play from JDG trying to set up the waves here.
I mean, is this real? And JDG is almost forced to pressure this or else they eat Ziggs poke.
Oh, boy.
So they're forced into bad conditions.
I mean, this Elder Flip could change the entire state of this game. It could seal the demise of JDG, or it could be their redemption, as one is already burned.
No redemption
just to
for
give
JDG.
Xiaoshu a little bit of extra healing. Still nearly 10,000 HP on the Elder Dragon, and anyone's legend now trying to burn it down. The engage comes through, massive cyclone onto the back line. Pace goes in the air with a feather storm. Shanks follows up with a knock-up. Pace is trying to fire as many feathers as he can. Flanger steps up, tries to zone him away. Flash stun, that gets the cleanse out of Pace. He's able to get one rip. Pace is still surviving. He's still trying to fire as many feathers as he can. Hope is still chucking bombs from a safe distance, and Pace cannot step up anymore in the fight. He's leaning on Zhuo for assistance as Shanks and the rest of anyone's legend bully JDG out of the river.
The trigger pull isn't great for JDG, and AL have been the one dictating the fights. It's been the Wukong and the Galley over the top, and Paze cannot play these fights well enough to win his team the game.
Yeah.
As Paze, I thought Paze had a great game, Rafa. He's just going to go down. It just is what it is. Demise the JDG as AL looking to go up 2-0.
Paze did everything he could, and it just simply wasn't enough to overcome the much better coordination and the much better teamwork from anyone's legend as they now head to match point 2-0 in the series.
And I know that we came into this one with, you know, kind of building up the story of Tarzan and Paze are the two titans of these teams have been the best performers throughout the year. I think it's been the series of Hope so far.
Yeah.
Hope has been so good in these first two games, and I really want to praise the role players around AL and how they've played to support Hope, because it feels like both of those compositions, it was Hope, like he was the person that the entire comp was built around. Whether it was the Yunara and the Ziggs, the way that Hope played at such a high level, I mean, he died 3 times in the Yunara game. He didn't die once in the Ziggs game there. But also the pieces around him. Like, how easy are these fights when you have Tarzan and Shanks buying this much space? It really is something to watch AL firing on all cylinders. And just, I think that the stuff they're punishing JDG on is really simple. Like, when we dive back in through the replays, we're going to see JDG get split around terrain, AL pick one side of the fight, and fully commit there. I think that that's what dictated a lot of the fights in this game, and what had JDG just come up short.
It speaks volumes about anyone's legend's current state and mentality when they're able to give a lot of trust from their star carries in Tarzan and Shanks, who at the peak of anyone's legend's season here in 2025, those two have been the ones dictating and getting a lot of the star recognition when you think about their performances at MSI against Gen G and T1. But Hope has always been a secret killer carry, the one that can step up when his team needs him the most, and anyone's legend are fully trusting him in tonight's best of 5.
I think that, I mean, that's big. Hope has been huge tonight. Fully agree with that, Rafa. I think we also have to hit on that other story, though, with, I'll talk about role players, right?
Yeah.
I think that Xiaoshu has had a couple of good moments, hasn't been able to convert it into a good game. Zhuo has been, I think, okay today. Shun has not been okay today. He didn't hit the Baron Smite. I thought that his early game of the Pantheon game 1 was poor. And Tarzan has been, he was the MVP of game 1, and it was another standout here in the Wukong game here. We couldn't see Shun get things going with that Xin Zhao. And he's been kind of invisible on 2 enabling champions. I'm wondering if it's time to get him a Nidalee game, a Kindred game. Go back to that well of comfort that Clearlove, one of the most successful junglers in LPL history, recognizes as being a true strength for his jungler in JDG.
I just have to say, Matt, for the way that some of these drafts have played out, obviously the Pantheon was a big takeaway from anyone's Legend. You do not want to give that into Tarzan's hands. I agree for sure. Unfortunately, Shun did not get the impact that you want to see from a champion like that, where you are so, especially after the nerfs that he's received, you're so much more dependent on snowballing the game and getting ahead of the curve, because your utility just is so much lacking. It's lacking so much compared to what some of the other junglers that are offered in comparison.
I feel so bad for Paze, man.
Dude, he is doing almost 50% of his team's damage.
It's more understanding for Hope, because you're playing Ziggs, and like this is what your team does. And I just watch these fights from Paze. He's playing these fights so well. He really I cannot ask more of my marksman. I do not know what Clearlove says to Paze behind the scenes besides like, you aren't tilted yet, right, buddy?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can play these fights better. I really don't.
I'm at a loss for words, Matt. Because when you look at how much more intensive the fights are for Paze, whereas Hope is just benefiting from being...
I think Hope... I don't want to take anything away from Hope. Hope had a great game. His skill shots were awesome. Yeah.
Nothing that we say should be discrediting what Hope is doing in these games. But I think we can be fair and say that Paze has a much more difficult job to perform based on what he had to play into in this game too.
I feel like I'm watching the 85 Michael Jordan Bulls, and it's just him and Plumbers. But frankly, I just...
This is literally the epitome of the meme.
It's him and Plumbers, man.
It's no help for Paze.
Oh, God. Poor Paze, man. Like, again, I'm watching Paze in all these fights. He plays these fights so well. I think that Shun did a decent job appealing him in a couple moments. I'll give Shun that. Definitely caught a moment there. But you just cannot ask for more out of Paze in these fights, and it just doesn't matter for JDG. Like, their star player has been stepping up, but hey, sometimes role players are the ones that win championships, Rafa. And it was JDG that tried to change out the role players to find the right mix to win a championship here.
Yeah.
And here's their role player in Scout, their other star, just being overvalued a little bit. He gives one away. What were you chuckling at there, boss?
I'm just thinking to myself, if someone had the audacity watching this game and going, oh, Paze, you should have dodged that last Ziggs bomb. Just screw you, dude. Like, what does Paze have to do more in trying to uplift his team and bring them back from the brink?
If you speak of Paze in any tongues, any words that is not praise and feeling legitimately bad for this guy and what he did, in the wrong in this one. I thought, yeah, Paze had, I mean, he was really good. It's actually really, it's so fun because, like, I mean, I think that, like, a big theory I've had for a long time in League of Legends is that at, like, the highest level of League of Legends, you need an AD carry that is at least, like, absurdly good enough to compete with the people that are elite at that role.
Yes.
The fact that Paze came out as a 17-year-old and, like, year one was like, yeah, I can compete. Like, I'm a rookie. I'm on Gen G. Rulers go, I'm here instead. Like, I can compete with the best of them. I think that that's just so sick from Paze. And the fact that, like, he's just played his ass off in a team that has just been, like, criminally dysfunctional. While Paze, I feel like Smurfs, like, 80% of the times we see him on the Rift. It makes me feel, it's actually just Mike Trout and the Angels. I actually just feel really bad for this. Like, his talent is just straight up being wasted here, man. I don't know. I do not know what else to say. The prime of Paze's career is just being thrown away in JDG. Get this man some help. That's not Paze? I thought it was going to be Paze. It was Hope. Deservedly so for Hope. Yeah.
I mean, if you could give an award to the least deserving of a loss to a player in JDG, it would 100% be Paze. This guy needs JDG to lock the frick in so that he can at least have a fighting chance to make it back against anyone's Legend. And remember, folks, if anyone's Legend wins here tonight, they advance for a chance to face top esports. Winning that series automatically qualifies them to Worlds and advances them to the Grand Finals. For JDG, if it's a loss here, they're going to have to take their chances for a race to Worlds through the Regional Finals gauntlet. But that is Game 2 wrapped up here. Match point for anyone's Legend. We'll see you on the other side for Game 3. Welcome back, y'all. We are getting ready for Game 3. It is match point on the line here for anyone's legend. And if you are a JDG fan, listen, I'm gonna level up with you. I'm gonna be as honest as I can. If Shun doesn't lock the fuck in, it is Jover. It is. I am begging for the sake of your happiness. I am begging for the sake of Pays, who is doing everything to try and bring JDG out of the slump and try and at least bring us to a Game 4. But at this rate, Matt, anyone's legend are about to close this out in a 3-0 sweep.
I just want to see JDG like try and assert their will on the game that doesn't require it starting from AL making mistakes. And
Yes.
I think we saw a couple moments of that from like Scout using Realm Warp or Shun using Grand Starfall. But when we've seen just pure objective setups, and look, I think that AL's comp, it's a lot easier to do the objective setups with Ziggs. I haven't seen JDG like have a winning setup. Like where is the angle that I think the only one was the Baron pinch, where again they were up numbers, and then Scout had a really nice angle there with a control word. But that's the kind of stuff that like we're really used to seeing out of AL. I think that's what makes Tarzan and Kael so good, finding those pockets of vision. You know, we played tape before where that like, even Tarzan's using Pantheon ult to sneak into fog, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's like a next level play to do that and like split a team. I mean, that is like what they like. That's the level that AL is playing at, and like JDG, it's like, all right, we're gonna use our first 3 Pantheon ults on a Scion, guys. It's gonna be fine. So I just like strategically, we have always looked at JDG and just been like, this year, no matter what the roster is, we don't really see the vision outside of like, okay, Scout's really good in these champs. Pays is really good. We can win on some of these champs or styles, but like it hasn't been consistent enough. Like I don't know what kind of style this team has, and it feels like they've kind of floundered.
And for what it's worth, while anyone's legend haven't been free from mistakes, there's been a couple. And that's where JDG have found their windows to reclaim control of the game. Anyone's legend are returning back to the form that won them the split just a couple months ago at the end of May, going into MSI. Anyone's legend, when they are in format, these guys not only have the mechanics to best ones like BLG, who boast some of the best hands in the LPL, they can match the macro that IG at their peak this split was putting on full display during the regular season. Anyone's legend is the closest to a perfect team for the LPL, which is why everyone got so excited about them going into MSI, and the fact that they brought T1 and Gen G both to a full 5-game series. If anyone's legend can return to that form, then LPL is going to be very excited going into the Worlds 2025 tournament.
I think those LCK teams are still pretty tough to beat, and you're going to see one of the 2 teams that was at MSI in that playing game, which is going to make a lot of LPL fans scared. But hey, hopefully we can send some strong teams in that playing game. I know that I saw someone tweeting out that we could get a world where if IG is the 4th seed and T1's the 4th seed, that is, it's Rookie versus Faker for the first time ever internationally, with the stakes of it just going to Worlds, which is crazy. We'll see how the rest of our bracket pans out. Of course, for AL, they want to control their own destiny on their path to Worlds. Championship points on the line for this game. AL, if they make finals, do secure that auto bid for Worlds and don't have to face the gauntlet.
I think JDG are prepping for an Alistar first pick. The early ban on the Sylas seems, I don't want to say strange, but it does seem curious to do it in the first round.
B1 Alistar is a bit aggressive, but wow.
They sniffed it out.
Okay, good call. I mean, now Talia. Where's the Scout Talia? Where's the... You have Aurora off the table. Ryze is gone. Okay, Rumble's up. So it's going to be Rumble for Xiaoshu, but that does put them on a timer. I mean, if I'm Fondre, take away the Cassante. Let's say this one goes 4 or 5. That's such a big pick for Xiaoshu. And some of the other good Rumble matchups are off the board. You still have Ornn up, but take that Cassante away.
I mean, I love the Jarvan pickup here from Tarzan. That anyone's legend, understanding that that is one of Shun's historical best picks, and that is the 1-2
They're asking to get Kindred
combo, now completely taken away. Now JDG.
Kindred's a bad pairing with Rumble, but I like Kindred into Sivir Jarvan. So I'm wondering if that ends up being like Shun going to comfort there. Also, I mean, could just take Sejuani, take the handshake, try and play for that early game instead. Gonna be the Vi.
Okay.
I don't love that. You get the chance to play in the Sivir. You gotta smite the spell shield if you want to go in, right?
Yep.
Definitely have to play around with that timer. I expect Shun to be on point with that. But Talia, the J4 can punish Talia. And I see 2 immobile carries right now with Jarvan already on my screen. And I think that AL can continue to play for that identity. I know I was saying Cassante earlier on. Ornn can help further punish flashes being down and give you some more of that scaling. I don't think that Talia Vi is quite enough damage to get through Ornn. They're going to have to find that through the bot lane, so you could slime it here or get a Karma if you want. You could try and go for picks, but no. Okay, going to be the Cassante, bit of a deny for Xiaoshu, and definitely one of the Flandre plays as well.
If I'm anyone's legend, I'm banning Ezreal and Lucian. Just get rid of 80 carries that give you mobility to escape the Cataclysm when Tarzan goes for the engage.
I would take Kai'Sa away.
Kai'Sa's also a good call
Yeah,
out.
I would take Kai'Sa away.
Follows up with the dive composition identity that JDG has right now. I mean, this is a lot of dependency on finding a snowball already for JDG. I don't want to say there's absolutely no scaling, but I mean, you're staring at a Sivir on the other side of the rift here.
I mean, Talia can always do work, and definitely can get, I mean, like Sivir Spell Shield. I think Talia and the Rocks can actually play a really nice... You can play nicely around those. Like, it's kind of hard to Sivir sometimes. There's a lot of ways you can cancel Spell Shield if, like, you're trying to Spell Shield a Flick, which is what you want to Spell Shield as Sivir by playing around with those Qs. So, I expect to see Ahri and maybe an Akali take it away here from Shanks.
I would definitely ban Akali.
I think Akali's a happy camper going to Rumble Talia Vi. And we saw the Kalista ban, which, I mean, what you highlighted, it was Ezreal. I highlighted Kai'Sa, and you had Lucian that you wanted to see taken away.
I mean, Kalista fits the bill, too. It's a champion that could escape a Cataclysm.
And
Zeri's also a decent champion pickup here for anyone's legend to at least ban, because you can skate the wall, and anyone's legend is lacking point-and-click lockdown, and that would have really forced Kael into picking something like, I don't know, a Maokai support. So they just don't even want to worry about it. They take that off the table. The Karma as a ban. Nice to try and remove some lane priority from Kael.
I like that ban a lot, but I feel like you're just asking to have AL blind Braum now. And that's one of your better responses into Braum. Look, if you're going to get crazy, I think Jinx Lulu is actually... Like, I know that you still have to go in the Jarvan there, but like find a double counter range bot lane. Like, try and take advantage of that. If you play Kai'Sa, it gives you the dive into Sivir, but a lot of your good engage combos are gone. So I don't know what Zhuo's going to be able to play. I mean, you kind of have to Bard at this point, which I think is doable this game if he wants to play Bard.
Just trying to go down the list of engaged supports.
All the big ones are off.
Maokai from Zhuo?
You can get abused by Braum.
Sure.
I mean, I think Lulu is, like, unironically the best matchup into the Braum. But Kai'Sa Lulu is a eclectic lane, if we're going to be honest. Like, do you even I mean, does Polymorph actually proc Kai'Sa passive? That could be kind of nice, but... yeah, this is not what you're used to seeing.
How does Shanks tie this all together? Oh, boy.
It's good.
I mean, when we asked for point-and-click CC, what was left? Lissandra has risen as a later on fearless draft pick for a lot of teams here. I know Knight was one of the first people to bring it back to the fold here in Split 3.
Oh, hold on, Alpha. I know that we have an overarching ban on talking about our Flex Q experiences, but I've been a big Wiz fan for a while, especially pairing up with something what you got.
I don't care about our Flex games.
Let me explain.
Okay, fine.
Some of the theory, though, for this, I like the theory a lot, because you do have this point-and-click go button, but also, you know, Vi Talia. What are the champs that you can use to play defense against Vi Talia? That's like the Akali, the Sylas, the Ahri. Like, what gets out of the combo? This does that in a pretty creative way. And if you're good on the claws, you can actually sneak out of some of the flicks. So you can dodge out on the Unraveled Earth, pretty much. And then you bring full lockdown for a champion that's kind of squishy. So I like Liss a lot. I like that we're seeing more of this. I think that she has a lot of value that was kind of being skipped out and forgotten about. Happy to see Knight bring her out. Happy to see Shanks now bring her out. Again, I think that sometimes, and later on in Fearless Draft, it's just good to have strong comp identities. And Lissandra is a very strong identity champion. It's about lockdown in early game. Also was an old counter into Rumble, so has a positive side lane matchup there too.
Oh yeah, the Lissandra top.
Think of like the Huni. The Huni Rumble versus Liss. Yeah, it's that matter.
Yeah. Huni and Soaz would often have that matchup as a trade back in, what was that, 2015? If I'm not mistaken.
I've been a fan for a long time, Rafa.
Yeah. Well, if it wasn't the Lissandra, I feel like the Swain would have made his appearance here, as that's another way to deal with the full-on dive. But here we go. This is match point on the line for Anyone's Legend as we hit game 3 between JDG and Anyone's Legend.
Electrocute on Shanks. Oh, we got Jayos. Sorry, I was getting excited. I want to talk about the game.
Now,
Shanks, Lissandra, boom, boom damage Lissandra. All about it. I think that Liss, like, unironically, I know in past metas, you would go, like, Abyssal Mask or Abyssal Scepter Rush. God, we're really going back. You would try and take something somewhat defensive because as Liss, you kind of lack out on the range. I think the Glass Cannon Lissandra is actually, like, very playable this game.
Oh,
everyone's
so
really,
awesome.
really squishy on this side of JDG. So I think Electrocute, like, just go full pedal to the metal as... Oh, my God.
Oh, no. Scout, please! Please! Anyone's Legend picks up first blood and the flash off a Scout.
On the bright side, I heard that there was a rumor that Clearwolf might have removed Paze's tab key going into this game. So that might actually really help JDG on this bot side. But, man, Scout flashes in a straight line. And that's a pretty big oopsie. I mean, Kael's still able to pick up this entire wave. Tarzan gets the camp. Shun is spotted at level 2.
Oh,
now Tarzan can hide.
Dude, Tarzan could totally own Shun in level 2.
He can. He wins. Yep.
Oh, no, Shun. Come on. I mean, Anyone's Legend are just getting everything handed to them. They are the ones setting up the plays, and JDG are just having terrible responses into the Pandas.
Shun's going to try and cross-map and take away some of Tarzan's camps. Tarzan actually is kind of misreading this. Look at the information now on Shun, who is on his side. Really curious how much Shanks wants to pressure here. He doesn't have level 3 yet. If he had level 3, I mean, he'd be able to get in there and really mess up the buy. But took the claw level 2, so can't really go in.
He can set himself up to now pressure Paze and Jwo. I don't know if he's going to get a kill opportunity here, but he could at least burn some summoner spells. Kael leads the charge. Jwo already forced to flash away. The knockup doesn't find Paze, but it does get the heal summoner spell also burned from Jwo just to maintain lane priority. Wait a minute. Paze looks for the auto attack, the empowered auto, and Jwo gets the first kill of the game for JDG's side.
Dude, get Paze a team, man. Please, for the love of God. What can this guy do wrong in this series? As, meanwhile, the rest of his team...
Look at that mini-map Paze. Try and see if he can bail out Shun. He gets the blast shield. It's a 1-for-1 trade, and Xiaoshu benefits from the kill credit on the Flandre's corpse.
Very important that we were able to overheat there on the Rumble, or else that could have been grim. Flandre going to trade out, but they do get Tarzan to save his own red buff. And Shun, I mean, continues to have a very slow, delayed start here, as that has really been the focus from AL. Definitely a chance here if for Tarzan to find the double crab. We'll see if he reads it right. He sprints over to the top side. There was a small window where I thought maybe Shanks could help him out to get that crab, as Shanks did TP back later. But nope, not going to be the case. Feels pretty bad, though, if you're a jungler, Rafa, and you're taking crab to hit level 3. That's kind of supposed to be level 4 with those.
I mean, Shun is relentless. He is not going to let the early deficits try and bring him down. But Tarzan smites away the red buff very intelligently, and Shun is denied an opportunity to try and steal a camp away, waste time looking for that opportunity. And if Shun continues trying to look for these high-risk, high-reward plays, on the one hand, I get it. You're trying to find something creative to answer to Anyone's Legend, but Tarzan is just so smart as a jungler. This really is one of the big raid bosses you have to go through in here in the lower bracket.
Gonna get back out on the map again ahead of Shun. You see a couple of discrepancies across the map as because Scout did get first blooded, he burned that TP instantly. That got Shanks a better recall this time around because he TP'd back with actual items. So Scout just had to walk back. Really curious to see if Scout's flash ends up being punished, because with the Lissandra, it's pretty good gank assist for a Jarvan, but Tarzan looking to use that Sivir push to maybe start an early dragon. We'll see if he gets the help of his bot lane here. I would love this for AL. Again, they have a lead in jungle. They have a lead mid. I think using this to delete the Drake before those grubs spawn is quite good as Paze scouts it out. And yeah, JDG, they sniff what's going on. It's just the question is, can they stop it? And I think the answer is no.
Yep, it's the first dragon going very early on to anyone's Legends hands. It's a great way to set up the dragon stacking scenario and force JDG into an uncomfortable position come the soul point around the 20-minute mark at this point.
There we go with Shanks. Yeah, very positive Wisp trade. Very good walk forward there. As played there by Joao. At least do his best to get that most of that wave to Paze's hands. Things have slowed down here a little bit. I'm kind of waiting for 6 to come in for Shanks and to see if AL wants to play on the Scout, because there's a very small window where Scout has flashed down and Shanks might have 6 as he just dinged it. So just curious to see if Tarzan was going to go there. He does not. Going to continue to farm and try and be as strong as possible for these grubs coming up.
A minute and a half before that objective does spawn. JDG. Been a very, very tough early game deficit that they've had to deal with. It hasn't really resulted in a large gold advantage for anyone's Legend, at least for the sake of JDG, but those are some of the frustrations that JDG fans have had to deal with throughout the entire regular season of JDG. Just seeing some mistakes and follies, and one of the things that you asked for going into this third game is just hoping that JDG are able to find early game advantages that are not only decisive, but also not because anyone's Legend are the ones making mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, kind of hard to do that when you start off level 1 the way that JDG did.
Exactly!
As they're just on the back foot now for the entirety of this early game is what it feels like. Kyle leeching XP off mid. We'll see if he's able to ding 6 off the next wave. He is behind Joao. Where Wild Growth can be quite impactful actually at some of these early fights. Especially, I think the target for him might actually be Shun on the Vi, which I think makes Vi being behind early even more painful. But we'll see how that ends up being used.
Big ultimates coming up now for anyone's Legend. Kyle not level 6 yet, but pretty much everyone else on his team is. Tarzan hanging around the top side, trying to protect Kyle and Hope as they receive this wave. Xiaoshu and the rest of JDG corralling through the river as the 4-man squad from JDG catches the wave high.
No one's bot, by the way. We are just going to flip this. I mean, look, JDG, I think their comp really wants to fight a Grubs. You have a Rumble, yeah, you have a Vi, you have a Talia. It's a lot of guaranteed combos, but AL is stronger at the moment as a team. Their champs are, but they feel like they can maybe match.
Gotta
We'll
be
see if
careful
AL
about
can
who
pull
you
off the
select as a
setup.
target, though. Tarzan is starting to walk forward. Flandra looms as the seismic shove takes a huge chunk out of the Cassante. Decent damage. Here comes the equalizer that forces Hope to flash over it. Flash from Shanks sets up the combo. Frozen Tomb buys some time. Tarzan slams down the Cataclysm dunk, but it's the cease and desist from Shun that finds the answer back, and it's the fate of warfare secured for JDG. Their early game comp starting to show their strength here as anyone's Legend now find themselves here on the back foot.
Yeah, fight's gonna continue.
Shun goes back in.
Nope.
Flandra gives his life for the all-out, and despite the early game woes from Shun and Scout, they rise to the occasion to overcome anyone's Legend here in the river.
That was a good setup from JDG, and I mean, they got a pretty bad response from AL out. Like, Flandra and Shanks just kind of threw themselves in that brush for what? As Shun's gonna get 1, but we have a TP coming in from Kyle, and Tarzan might actually get 2 grubs off this. So it is a loss of kills early on, as the comp of AL, we didn't think it'd be stronger than JDG at the moment, but they were ahead of the game pace. That fight wasn't warranted, at least for the kills, but they come back, I mean, this is very ambitious from AL. You were walking into a control-warded brush blind. Paze did use a nice killer instinct to get over the wall, join his team. This Rumble, while not the most damage, it kind of locks AL in. Shanks does his best to go in. The wall from Scout was good. It cut off Flandre. And if Flandre is able to join for this fight, I think that's the world where AL might look to win, but because of the flashes that were used by JDG, a lot in retreat, AL did get a lot out of JDG from that play. I mean, 4 out of 5 flashes is significant. But, yeah, I mean, we'll see what AL can do to punish, because, again, I see Wassandra, I see Jarvan, and I see flashes down. Like, that should be plays that could be made by AL to kind of slingshot back into this one, as they do lose out on gold in that play, even if they did win out of the grubs.
Pays in particular has to be extremely careful if there's another fight that involves both squads head to head in a 5-on-5. No cleanse, no flash available. That means that is the big target for the Frozen Tomb.
And look, because the Drake and the Grubs were split in their timers, this is something where JDG, like, we like their conditions now. They might look to take a dragon and, like, force the double Drakes here early. It's kind of curious how they decide to play around this one with Shanks, as at the moment we're kind of looking with the Jarvan and the Lissandra top to punish the Rumble. But they pull back on that. They did get Equalizer out. I mean, that's a small tool in order to try and hit this Drake. It's a Drake that I feel like JDG are kind of signing up to give. As they didn't have cease and assist, they just dropped the Equalizer top side. Yeah.
I'm with you. I think anyone's Legend were poised for that collapse on the Xiaoshu. He burns the Equalizer, and now the Pandas say, hey guys, there's no Rumble ulti. We should just take this dragon. There's no way that they can compete with us now.
I think all the flashes being down again, just kind of dangerous for JDG. Really easy for AL with the Cataclysm and the Frozen Tomb to actually get in there and punish JDG when they don't have that very important summoner spell up. So going to be a trade of objectives. A little bit of gold on the Xiaoshu. Whereas the second dragon goes over. And yeah, I mean, we wanted the boom boom damage Lissandra. A rocket belt is one way to do that.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, Matt. I'm pretty happy to see that. That is an aggressive Lissandra if I've ever seen one. I am.
Yeah. That'd be like Marilla.
Too. Yeah, I'm so glad it's not Roa. I'm so over scaling health builds. I want big damage. I want big burst. And when you think about if Lissandra's able to get resets off of the deaths of multiple members, then the Frozen Thralls come up, the White Walkers start just blasting JDG for extra burst damage. Oh, it's so awesome.
Yeah, you need a lot more than a Valerian Steel Dagger to take down those White Walkers, because they do a lot of damage to you.
True.
As I mean, I think that if you're building Roll on the Sandra, you need to reconsider life. So I'm glad that glad that Shanks is at least not doing that. We already saw one Eclectic mid build today. I don't want to see a second one. His Scout actually might get caught here.
Almost at 50% HP. Yeah, and now he's below the threshold.
He's got a base. Yeah, he's got TP, so he can get back to that wave. But a decent tickle or a decent attempt there by Flandre, who does have that Kanik Rooken.
Next objective, not for another 2 minutes. Uh-oh, Frozen Tomb locks down Shun. He sends the cease and desist. He's got Pays and Dwo in his back pocket. Xiaoshu's walking over, ready to drop the Equalizer and turn this jungle into an incinerator. But the rest of anyone's Legend, they bail, and they give respect to JDG in this space.
And look, Scout TP'd once AL saw the TP. They actually called off the play. I love that from AL. They're going to get another TP out for that, because Xiaoshu has to answer this bot wave. So more conditions now gone from JDG. The next time we see Shanks and Tarzan attempt to play, that response is going to be available from JDG.
And you know what, Matt? If you want to make insane macro plays like anyone's Legend just did, check out prodiff.gg using the code LPL10 to save 10% on your next one-on-one interview with a former or current pro from the LTA, the ERLs, or even the NACL. And they might be able to walk you through how brilliant that play was from anyone's Legend.
Was a good one. See if AL can continue it. As, I mean, look, we've talked a lot about the Whis and the Jarvan. This is very clearly a bridge to the Sivir as well. And what I love about Lissandra is that she can create so much space for a champion like Sivir to auto-attack and get to work, you know? Just with the root, with the slow that she brings with the ult, whether she's going to use that on herself or an opponent. I really like this pick in this draft. Like, you can play defense into Vi Taliyah. You open up more space for Sivir. You're good in the Taliyah. You're good in the Rumble. I feel like this is just such a great game to see with Sandra. I'm really happy to see some of our players, you know, digging deep into the bag of playoffs. Like, Taliyah has been such a problem champion for the entire year. I feel like this Lissandra matchup has been there. I mean, I know Pobelter was playing it really well in NACL. A little bit different, but we did see it there. I just haven't seen it really get popularized globally until you get players like Knight playing it and Chovy, or I forget which LCK mid played it, but yeah, once that happens, obviously.
Was it Showmaker?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had to guess at an LCK mid playing a weird pick, I'd guess Showmaker first, so let's be honest.
Seems on brand. Seems on brand for him. Rift Herald spawning in the next 5 seconds. Anyone's Legend still have a majority of the objectives on their side. JDG trying to see if they can be the first ones to answer and contest the objective in the pit. The rest of anyone's Legend looking for priority from the mid wave, trying to now walk into the river point.
Scout yet. He doesn't have that completed item, right? Not even the evolved item, right? He's kind of surprised that AL gave, as they actually TP'd this bot, so they're just going to play for first brick and feats, yeah. I mean, I like it. Herald is power later, and they're going to take power now and secure power for the rest of the game in feats. I think it's a good call. They're going to burn both their TPs for this. But it's kind of a similar play that we just saw from JDG. It's just that AL actually got something out of their double TP, right?
Yeah, because you know that the power of the Rift Herald often nets you first brick. Anyone's Legend deny that opportunity as soon as they know that all five members from JDG was pretty much committed to securing that objective, and Anyone's Legend saying, okay, nice first brick. Oh wait, we got it first. And now Anyone's Legend have the feats of strength on their side. They have the empowered tier 2 boots. They'll have access to the tier 3 boots. Anyone's Legend is doing everything they can to just withstand the early power curve that JDG have with this composition and get to the point where they will outscale them.
That was honestly really impressive from AL. I like that use of the double TP advantage. There's some Pandissimo power. We're looking at the words of Toad Amarillo there.
Shanks is looking for Tarzan flash Cataclysm, locks down Pays into the pit, forces him to flash and cleanse away. Shanks now goes into the frozen tomb, creates space. It's only Xiaoshu on the front line trying to threaten as Tarzan follows the knock up onto Zhuo, and now the rest of JDG are forced to scramble. Here comes Scout trying to save the fight. Seismic shove doesn't hit anyone. Anyone's Legend is able to sidestep, and now Zhuo disconnected from Pays as Flandre comes in for the flank, looking for Scout. He still has a flash, not pressured to use it, but Anyone's Legend continue to win out on these fights.
That's the whole point. Again, like JDG, I've seen one fight from them in this entire series where they have taken a fight on where it's been even conditions across the map, and they've had better conditions to start the objective. I love this from AL. Like, again, look at the space that Shanks takes up in this fight. I know that the scoreline from Flandre in the last game was kind of grim. We did see a couple early fights where he misplayed on the Renekton, but in the later fights, we saw what he was able to do by taking up space in the middle and opening up space for Hope to just buy space and throw spells. This time, we got to close the gap. But look at what Shanks does to close the gap here. It's a Mikhail's and a cleanse out of Pays as they burn both those tools there. That's significant later on because now, like, yeah, Shanks throws away his life, but look at Hope. He is a Sivir that was undeterred in the backline. Scout is late to the fight. And again, despite the best abilities of Pays, this fight was already over really before all of JDG got there, as AL take a favorable fight for themselves, and now they have Soul Point to threaten for the rest of the game.
It's still technically a gold advantage in JDG's pockets, but you look at the amount of objectives. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly my point. Anyone's Legend, they're totally fine in this state. JDG, they're the ones that are pressured to try and create a snowball early, and time is running out.
You know what else I love about the Wisp pick? Not to continue to harp on this, but look at Pays. You're playing Kai'Sa, right? You need to dive on this Sivir. We've seen a lot of successful Kai'Sa in the LPL get played into the champs, like Smolder, like Sivir, where, you know, if you synergize with the team, sync up, dive in the back line, you can win out. How hard is it to dive against the Lissandra when you don't have Cleanse, you don't have a Mikhail's? Lulu won't be in range for you to Mikhail's. So if that Cleanse is down, like, the Pays has to wait for that Frozen Tomb to really even think about going in. And I think that, you know, we talked about the Kai'Sa and both agreed, Rafa, that's a champ that AL should consider taking away. But when you're willing to play this in your back pocket, you'd love to see Kai'Sa on the map. Like, she dashes into your range, guess what happens? RQW, like, goodbye Kai'Sa, right? Don't have to worry about it. She doesn't have sums or conditions up.
Now Anyone's Legend find themselves 3 minutes away from securing Soul Point. Otacon spawning in just under a minute's time. I am so concerned for JDG that they're going to feel completely desperate and just start the Otacon on spawn. They're going to try and pull Anyone's Legend into them. And I don't know if they're going to have the decisiveness and the coordination to be able to outclass Anyone's Legend in that fight.
I mean, they've given us no reason to think so far today, Rafa. Let's be honest. I mean, what have we seen so far? I like the Mikhail's rush from Zhuo, but you're down a redemption, now you're split. And goodbye, JDG.
Soon getting caught out by the Glacial Fissure.
Great ward.
No flash on this Vi, and it's just exemplarily play from Anyone's Legend, sniping the jungler of JDG off the map.
Sometimes it's just the little things, guys. Look at the 2 control wards that JDG have around the Otacon. The 3 control wards they have in the river. It is one well-placed ward in the river by Kael that completely scouts JDG out as they try and walk in. AL used that information to shut them down. Gonna use it to try and secure this Otacon and shut JDG out of this series in a clean 3-0.
I mean, JDG are going to try and force this against anyone's legend, but they're down a single man. No smite advantage. It's not to play for the Otacon, it's just to play for the fight. Equalizer's decent, but Shanks finds Scout, forces him to flash away, still has the Frozen Tomb in his arsenal, and it's the Otacon secured for anyone's legend. Now everyone is backing off, giving respect to JDG and their ability to collapse. Shanks still has the Frozen Tomb available, and he has the Glacial Path to make his escape alongside the rest of the Pandas as Pays trying to force something. Shooters back for the Brave, goes for the Cetus assist. Multi-man knockup into the backline of anyone's legend. Do they have the damage defying them? Hope is the first one to fall. Pays is trying to go crazy, but it's Flandra that puts an end to his carry potential. JDG take 2, but at what cost?
I mean, if JDG don't try anything there, I think they just get bled out of this game. They have a minute until the Soul, but with that Otacon secured for AL, they didn't get a significant amount of flowers. I mean, I sitting at 25 is something. It's only a small XP differential. Tarzan's the only one that is really the big benefactor right now, and that's from much more than just Otacon. But yeah, I mean, I can't really look at that ward. That's the ward I'm talking about. Guys, there are 3 control wards for JDG in this setup. One very, very good ward by Kyle completely scouts out the entrance from JDG as Shun gets picked apart, taken out. That smite down opens up the Otacon, and then this setup from Shanks. I love how disciplined Shanks has been with these Frozen Tombs, and we've seen him save them for himself, not on the singular target. One of the latest buffs to Liz was actually they gave her more healing back when you do self-ult, and the amount of space that Shanks has been able to buy with this has been so significant.
I mean, this is probably the best fight that JDG find in this game 3. And it just feels like it's too late, Matt.
I mean, it's kind of on Scout. Like, he had the base and TP back. I mean, I think that if you want to play that, like, you almost have to play it as a crew. And the only person he locked in was Sandra. And now you're playing for Hextech Soul. And look, if you give away Hextech Soul, I think that's just game. Like, that's Sivir list with a Hextech Soul. JDG, please fight this. Like, you can't go down with a whimper like this. You gotta flip it.
I definitely don't think that's not going to happen from JDG. They're going to go down with a fight, but I don't know if it's going to be a good one. Shun sends it, can't get the smite. The Hextech Soul secured by Tarzan, and now Scout is forced to flee. He doesn't even get a chance. Pays is able to find Shanks in the crossfire, but Pays, can he find the kills? As Flandra and Hope are the last 2 members standing, it could look good for JDG, as Pays needs to find his moment. Gets burned nearly to low, and Pays refuses to lose this series as he gives everything to keep JDG alive.
I mean, I'm just watching Pays. This is like watching LeBron try and win with Matthew Dellavedova. If we're really reaching back in the bag, man. JDG have not been an awe-inspiring team today. Pays has been an awe-inspiring player as he is doing everything that he can do to save his team and keep those world's chances alive for the maximum amount of championship points. But yeah, I mean, the smite doesn't land. Yes, Shanks melts. But the back half of this, I'm kind of curious to see what happened. I mean, Pays has a great take here. This is a very aggressive ultimate to take on in. Scout was able to hold a pretty decent line, and I think Tarzan got a little bit split. Him going on to the Rumble there was definitely a mistake. I think if he saves that for when Pays jumps in, we could have a different fight. But from there, Rumble, Lulu able to buy space, give JDG enough health in order to make sure that Pays barely lives, but make sure that they take down the rest of AL. Look, I still think this one's grim. You gave away Hextech Soul. That's a permanent buff that you have to fight against as AL, and they still have a Sivir. But we cannot say enough good things about Pays today and the really brand of League of Legends he's put on the Rift.
Once again, Pays is doing everything in his power to keep this series somewhat hopeful for JDG fans everywhere. And even though Pays is able to help nail an ace for JDG and find themselves a 3,000 gold advantage against anyone's legend, I need to see a lot more from JDG. Not just Pays, but everyone needs to step up.
Dude, Pays can't give anymore. Pays can't play better. It needs to be everyone else, man.
Exactly. Exactly. And anyone's legend has just been pound for pound across every other lane, just outclassing JDG when it matters. And anyone's legend now with the Hextech Soul in their inventory, on their side. Baron has spawned. This could be maybe the game-winning fight for either team.
I mean, I don't even, like, I still think it's just so hard to overcome Hextech Soul. I don't even care about the gold deficit. I see levels advantageous for AL or like close to even, and I see a Hextech Soul and I see a Sivir, like I'm still a happy camper. I mean, look at how hard it is for FaZe to navigate that. As Tarzan, that's not even a committal EQ, and they already got wild growth out of Zhuo just from the Hextech Soul slows. Like, yeah, you can just keep, like, you can fish with flags and try and find the slows, and these slows are very significant from Hexsoul. So I just think that like the game was lost for JDG by not being able to secure that dragon.
We'll see if FaZe can be a miracle worker. He has been able to do it in series before.
He's playing Kai'Sa Lulu, man. Like, this is an eclectic lane, and he's still smurfing. Like, I know Lulu's good in the Braum. I like Kai'Sa in the Sivir, but playing Kai'Sa without an engaged support is at times crazy. And what FaZe is doing in this game is it's pretty crazy.
I mean, here's the cope. Vi is your support this game. Vi is your engaged tool. It's just like,
dude, I think Vi's my donkey this game. I feel like that's the closest thing that June is.
Damn.
What I'm seeing, yeah.
It's definitely not been a stellar series from Shun. Tarzan has outclassed him for pretty much, what do you want to say, 90%? 95%? Would you even dare say 100%?
I don't want to talk about percentages, Rob. I just want to enjoy what we've got coming up.
Sure.
Yeah, you know, whatever it is, fans can decide that one for themselves.
True.
It's been undeniable what we've seen so far, at least with the attempts.
Listen, as disappointing as it has been for some of the components here in JDG, Anyone's Legend has just been absolutely stellar in this lower bracket run. Getting knocked down early on by Weibo Gaming was a considerable upset. Yeah. But look at where Anyone's Legend find themselves now. They have returned to championship defending form. They are firing on everything that they've got to give themselves the best shot at auto-qualifying to Worlds. They're still, even if this series is a win, one series away. They would have to beat Top Esports in the lower bracket final.
And if they beat Top Esports, I mean, Tarzan's already beaten 2 BLG junglers on his way here, so we'll see if he can take down 2 more in the finals. But have to get through Kanavi first, as both those junglers want the right to take down some BLG junglers. Yep. And Kanavi definitely no easy task in the LPL. So, I thought Kanavi was outstanding in the last series against BLG. But see what happens in that series tomorrow. At the moment, AL still a few pieces away, and I mean, still have to secure the match, but you feel like with the Hexel, it's very heavily favored. I will say that Elder has spawned, and anything can happen when Elder is on the Rift, so.
Yep.
JDG and tickling the Baron before Elder does spawn.
There's a ward on the Baron pit again. JDG trying to pull off this objective. Yeah, they're pulling off for now.
Like, the vision gap has been just astronomical in this series. Like, think about that pick on the Shun that led to the Otacon. That was vision gap. It was a good ward from Kyle around 3 control wards. The Otacon game 1, that was vision gap. As Scout.
Cataclysm right on top of Scout.
They got his flash.
He's forced to flash away, but that is a worthy trade in Anyone's Legends books there.
Look, if you're AL now with Tarzan, ideally, you clear out these waves, use Sivir to delete them, and then you just kind of wait for that Cataclysm to come. Easy target to get after.
Okay, Shun is trying to set up the sneak flank of all time.
That's the Omega flank, but
if
Shanks
he gets spotted, yep, Shanks spots him, and now Anyone's Legend knows where this Vi is located.
Shanks has been so good these past 2 games on Galio and Lissandra. It just feels like on these supportive mids, he's given his team so much space. Even the Annie marking Xiaoshu in game 1, like that was a game-winning play for me around that Baron, where he was able to kind of stymie the Ambessa. They couldn't get onto the Yunara. I think Shanks has been really on point, which is understanding his role. And I think that the champions that they've drafted has definitely helped. Has been very easy roles to identify, but Shanks has stepped into those very well, as now JDG. They're feeling the pressure, they're feeling the heat, they can't walk into the Elder. Only play is to try and draw AL into the Baron, and this is not a good one for JDG, as they're going to be fighting down conditions.
6K on the Baron, 5K. The engage is forcing Shun to flash away. Equalizer on top of multiple AL members. Redemption heals them up.
It's a waste of an equalizer.
4K. Oh, here comes Shanks over the wall. Finds the frozen tomb engage. Shun forced to use the cease and desist into the backline as FaZe is surrounded by everyone. And the last hope that JDG had in their ranks is the first one to go down in what could be the victory march for Anyone's Legend.
I mean, I don't know what to say about JDG today. I feel like they were immensely vision gapped. I can only remember one objective setup that was actually good from JDG. On even conditions. I won't give them this one on even conditions. I feel like the conditions of this game kind of forced their hand there. But if JDG want to actually go to Worlds, they really have to take a deep look at some of these objective setups. I mean, look at Shanks get around. Like, oh, Scout. They just didn't have a ward. His wall got blocked. He didn't stay disciplined there long enough to try and mark Shanks. And Shanks just finds the God angle on this Lissandra. As this fight was over pretty much exactly when it started. Pays has to go golden to try and get out of whatever he can, but when he lands out of it, no one can help clear his space. And this is just a victory march for AL. Roth, it feels like that lower bracket debuff was maybe a buff and a wake-up call for this team, as the sleeping dragons of the LPL, our champions of Split 2, have really awoken here in the lower bracket.
It's been an emphatic display, returning to championship form at just the right time for the Pandas and anyone's legend. A sentiment about this team has been what was happening in the Split 3 regular season. Were they going to be able to become those masters again that we had saw that won them the Split 2 title? But now anyone's legend, they're leaving no doubts here on Summoner's Rift tonight, as they are now pushing into the base what could be the last game, the last series for JDG in this playoffs bracket.
Yeah, that's a lot to get through. Baron, Elder, and a Hex Soul. Best of luck, JDG, as this is going to be death by 1,000 cuts and a lot of Dragon Breath.
Tarzan sends it on to Shun. The Elder Dragon at their hands smites down JDG one after one. Not even Pays was enough. Anyone's legend are just simply better. The journey continues to defend their crown, and anyone's legend are one series away from going to Worlds.
Taking care of business against JDG. I think it was very clear from game one who the better team was today, as AL just outclassed JDG in that series. Poor Pays, man. I thought Pays played out of his mind. I don't know if it's worthy of a higher Hoopa rating than Hope. He might get one just because everyone in the community feels so bad for what they watched in that series from Pays. But for AL, and they get to face Top Esports in their route to go to finals. AL and Top Esports, if you combine our 3 splits of the LPL, or 3 regular seasons, they have been the 2 best regular season teams that we have had throughout the 3 splits. The difference between those 2 teams, that Top Esports had not been able to finish off a split since Split 1, where they weren't able to finish off an international tournament with a good performance. So AL has been the team that has been scaling, they've been driving, but man, anytime it's a Kanavi versus Tarzan matchup, it's a treat in the LPL. So that'll be a fun one to see who can go up against BLG.
I mean, we're getting our Split 1 grand final rematch here in the lower bracket final, and the stakes are so grand. For Top Esports, if they even want a chance to auto-qualify the Worlds, they have to beat anyone's legend, and they have to beat BLG, get revenge for the upper bracket final this split. It's the only way, because if they were to lose against BLG in the grand final, anyone's legend still beats them in championship points. And for AL, it's just 1 series win before they are automatically in the biggest stage on the biggest tournament this year.
And I will say, I know that we're going to take a peek at championship points here in a couple of minutes. That one has a really big implication on championship points, and one that, as a caster of the LPL for the year, makes me very happy, because I said that I wanted to see IG at Worlds. They have 2 chances now to go to Worlds after that one, and I don't want to see JD. I would love to see Pays at Worlds. I don't know if I want to see JDG at Worlds. This just does not feel like a Worlds team to me. Again, I think that when Riot, League of Legends, when you lock the game into standard lanes, so much ends up becoming jungle support timers to really warp some of these solo lane matchups and shift it. Tarzan and Kyle outclassed their opponents today. I think all 3 games, and it was really like the best efforts of Pays to try and keep things close. But for me, that was just AL start to finish. Really, they had better objective setups, they had better team fights, they had better, I don't know if they had better drafts, they for sure had better executions at drafts. I feel like the one draft we really didn't like was the, we really liked the Ziggs and the Xayah, and that did end up winning in the end because of how well AL were able to play it as well. But that is AL firing at all cylinders. Like, they are the strategically flexible team that has the wider champion pools in the LPL, and that has really served them well domestically and internationally this year. And they kind of got away with that, or away from that in the best of 3. So it is good now in the best of 5s. Like, I thought that Lysandre pick was just perfect that game into the comp. So I really want to give praise to AL from, I feel like, just a really solid series. And they made JDG kind of look silly throughout that one. So, yeah.
I mean, listen, when you look back at the Split 3 regular season, Anyone's Legend were going through turmoils of their own. Their coordination that we had come to expect of them was nowhere near as surgical as it was when they won Split 2, when they came out through the lower bracket in this fashion. But they're able to bring it together right on time. And now, even though JDG might have not been the greatest challenge and test for them, especially on their form today, which I think for many JDG fans, depends on how long you've been a fan of them, whether this is expected based on what you've seen all year, or really trying to hope for a recent surge in the playoff bracket. Now a kind of more recent development here, but for Anyone's Legend, man, this team, when they are in form, I cannot say it enough, they are truly one of the most exciting teams to come out of the LPL going into the international stage. And if Anyone's Legend is playing like this, then we are in for a treat when they go up against top esports, and then whoever the victor is gets a chance to rematch BLG in the grand finals.
Yeah, and look, I mean, I think that AL, like, between this just being a top A team, a player that has had so much success coaching in LPL history, and then seeing, like, they stuck with Shanks, Hope, and Kyle, and seeing how Flandre, Tarzan, I mean, perennial contenders in the LPL, how they've really shaped this team is a big difference. Man, Shun really got gapped in that last one. It's not the best damage share there, not the best damage taken share either. As him and Scout struggled. I mean, it was they got behind from level 1, and I favor the J4 and the List into that matchup, and yeah, it was used really well by AL. This was really the only fight I thought JDG won objective wise on even footing for the entirety of the day.
And like you prefaced earlier, the fights that JDG found themselves winning were not off of the proactivity from JDG. It was watching Anyone's Legend make small mistakes and JDG being able to punish, which, don't get me wrong, that's not a bad quality to have. You need to be able to punish these mistakes when you get to higher levels of play. But if that's all you're good for, you almost have a very low floor compared to what your competition is going to bring to the fold when they're the ones making decisive macro plays, when they have clear strengths. And for JDG, it just seemed like their strength that they tried to leverage this series was, well, let's hope we can just bash their brains in early and we'll just let our hands do the talking. And
it's not even that, man. Like, if you go back and watch that series, like, I can't think of a timer where they were first to something. That is disgusting to think about throughout a 3-game series, and I thought they had a better early game draft in game 1. I thought that this game, I mean, you're playing Rumble, Vi, Talia, and all you can get is 2 kills and 1 grub at the grub fight? Like, Jesus Christ, that's grim. Like, I mean, that's not good league.
Listen, Anyone's Legend was by far the better team tonight, and I don't want to take that away from them. But when you look at the series that JDG played tonight versus the series they played against Weibo just a few days ago, I don't know what happens to that JDG. They were a lot more decisive.
I know what happened, man. They went up against an actual good jungle support duo, man. They got completely gapped. Wow. I mean, I watched Chris without playoffs was tough, man. I don't know what else to say there, but I thought TN was really playing really well, and then Chris was just kind of like looking like me out there. But
all right, well, so of course the support main advocates for the support gap, which...
Hey man, Kyle. Kyle has been support capping a lot of people throughout LPL this year. See if it can continue.
At the right time. I'm not going to lie, Matt. Split 3
was a little tough. Yeah. But hey, playoffs, the playoffs come around. It's a really busy schedule for a team like AL. I mean, when you're going from MSI to the big international event that was held afterwards into LPL, I mean, this is AL like that. I mean, if you're a coach of a good team, you have to find a way to peak at the right time. I think one of the big talking points, like really, this is like old school league, right? But this is like T1, back when T1's forming with Faker. T1, there are 2 round robins in the LCK. in the second round robin back in like 2014, 2015, T1 would start to like double the triple the amount of solo queue games that they played, because that's when they started to push for playoffs and push for like when time matters. And so like if you're AL or like even MKOI coming off of these big international events, like, yeah, I need to take a break. Like the chances that we get to take a break as it gets later and later in the season just get less and less. So I think that for AL, like, we did give them some grace earlier on, and we got a little bit concerned as you know, dropping the lower bracket first in the playoffs is not good. But hey, they've responded to the adversity really well. I think Tarzan and Kyle are starting to look like that jungle support duo that was so feared in the LPL when they were winning Split 2. So I'm excited to see what they can do into top esports, because I think that Hong has played really well. Hong is like playing 1 or 2 enchanters away from, I think, being able to be a really effective best of 5 fearless support. And
yeah.
Kanavi, I think, has been on point. We saw a couple oopsies from 369 and Cream throughout their series. So I feel like Fondre and Shanks will have an advantage there. But that should be a really close competitive series. I'm excited for that one.
I'm going to put you on the spot and quote you from one of the things you said on the closing death segment for that series. The better jungler lost that day. Kanavi played out of his mind. And even though that Game 5 Vi was...
Shadow had a great game.
That was tough. And Shadow definitely came in clutch for the team when they needed him most, but there's a reason why in our last 3 teams for the race to first seed representing LPL at Worlds comes down to the teams with the best remaining junglers here in the playoffs bracket. I want to show, I don't know if we have the bracket updated one last time just to check it out, as now officially JDG's run here in playoffs comes to an end. They still have a chance to try and clean things up and make a run to Worlds through the regional gauntlet finals. If they play like they did today, I don't have high hopes for them, but for their sake, especially for Pays, who did not deserve to lose today's series, his team will figure their shit out. And
yeah, I don't want to take... I don't want to take anything away from Hope in this, because Hope was fantastic. This is funny, actually, Rafa. You want to know the Hoopa ratings for this series?
Oh, are they already up?
They're already up. You want to know them?
Yes.
AL. AL side. Well, let's have some fun here. AL, from top to bottom, 9.8 for Tarzan. I'm going to do a player ranking. 9.8 for Tarzan, leading the scores. 9.6 for Hope. 9.5 for Kyle. 9.2 for Shank. 7.5 for Fondre.
I was gonna say, I was like, I'm curious how far down Flandre is. Like, listen, Flandre did his job when he needed to.
The Renekton game had some oopsies though. It's it. It's fine.
Yeah.
JDG.
Yeah. Let's see.
JDG scores. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Pays 8.8. Next highest, Xiaoshu 3.7. Joao 3.1. And Shun and Scout both at 2.4. So that's pretty rough. That's one of the lowest scores I've seen. As the LPL fans are not very happy with Shun or Scout.
I think the lowest score you can possibly get is a 2.0. I don't know if they even allow like below 2.0 scores.
That's tough.
Yeah. I mean, that says it all there, folks. But
I thought Scout was like less throwing, more just invisible, which might be an improvement. But anyway, I think we have a championship points graphic maybe to get through. There are a lot of stakes for this one if Chippy has it, given the results.
Listen, if we don't have it, we'll find out in just a few moments here. Here's what you need to know, guys. Even if we don't have the exact point values here on screen, anyone's legend secures auto qualification to Worlds off of winning the series against top esports. And then, even if they do not beat top esports, as long as BLG are the grand final winners, anyone's legend still has more championship points than top esports, even if they end the split second place in playoffs.
The big thing for that is I think that locked in IG an upper bracket. Yeah, it did lock in IG an upper bracket Worlds qualifier spot. So IG, they have 2 best of 5s where they could qualify for Worlds if they win one of those. Whereas if you were in the lower bracket, you have to win 2 best of 5s in a row. JDG and Weibo are actually locked in for that now. So it's going to be JDG and Weibo. They have to win 2 best of 5s in order to make it to Worlds. Whereas it's going to be IG and then likely, I'd say top esports, given that top has to win it all. Most likely top esports, that they each have 2 best of 5s to try and make it to Worlds. And look, frankly, I mean, I favor top in IG. I think that it's been pretty clear who the 4 best teams all year have been in the LPL if you take all 3 splits into account. So I would be surprised if it isn't top or IG, and all I'm saying is that that 4th seed might be Gen G or T1, and they have to play the 4th seed of LPL, so that could be a pretty crazy kickoff to Worlds. As we could have 2 really big brands going up against each other to try and qualify for the main event.
Listen, I know me and Alk have been geeking out about an opportunity for IG to test their macro play when they were playing at their peak form during the regular season of Split 3. Obviously, the last 2 best of 5s they showed here in the playoffs bracket was not the greatest, and a little disappointing for IG fans who were hoping that they were gonna make a run all the way to grand finals, if not winning it all, just based on the form they showed by the end of the Rumble stage. But IG still have some of the better chances over JDG and Weibo, given where they are in the upper bracket now for Regional Finals Gauntlet. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is an end for our broadcast tonight. It was a clean 3-0 from anyone's legend. Minimal mistakes made. Everyone firing on some of the best form that we have seen from them all year long. Very reminiscent of their championship winning form back in Split 2. So obviously, we are excited to see the Pandas back in full stride. But before we close out tonight's show, we want to thank very much to our Elite Coffee supporters, Aaron Soup, Mung, and Forrest Without. Their pledged financial contributions help level up the broadcast and give back to the cast and crew who strive to give you an English LPL product every single day. Before we say goodbye, any last words here, Matt?
No, it's been a pleasure. I hope to see you guys again for one of the matches we got coming up between this and the Gauntlet. I think we have a lot of good LPL action ahead of us. Matches only get higher and higher stakes as we go with Worlds on the line, and of course the LPL Domestic Grand Final as well. So it should be a fun conclusion of the split.
It's definitely a different look than what I had imagined the race the top 3 was going to be based on what we saw on Rumble stage, but I cannot be happier with the final 3 teams that we are getting for a race for it all. The crown for Split 3 still lies in the shadows. Only one can take it. We'll see what happens this finals weekend as anyone's legend takes on Top Esports in the lower bracket final. Until then, good night. See you next time.